Chapter 3283. This was not the end. Lin Xian created a new law mystique based on the power of annihilation and the terrifying scene from before. Snap of the fingers. Lin Xian tried this law mystique. He condensed the annihilation law fragment to his fingertip and flicked it lightly. Instantly, the area in front of him turned into ashes. What terrifying power! Lin Xian was also amazed. He continued to comprehend. He had experienced death. Although he had the protection of the great dragon sword soul, this devourer of the world was too terrifying. Even saints could be easily killed, so he was also seriously injured. His flesh and blood were all dried up, and the golden bones in his body were also broken. Not a single part of him was intact. Those 3 years were really torturous. However, he had managed to endure it all. Of course, in addition to the protection of the great dragon sword soul, Lin Xian had been using the law of wood to maintain his vitality. He created his own mystique, recuperation. This mystique was created using the law of wood. It was not an offensive mystique, but a mystique for daily recuperation. Of course, he also had another experience, and that was being seriously injured and on the verge of death, instantly recovering. This experience was too shocking. Probably not many people had experienced it. Perhaps only the great emperor back then could have such an experience after eating the elixir of immortality. Lin Xian used the law of fire, the law of wood, and combined this experience to create his own mystique, Nirvana rebirth. This mystique was different from recuperation. Recuperation was suitable for a long time, the kind of cultivation that moistened the rain silently, while Nirvana rebirth was very suitable for battle. Serious injuries in battle could be recovered immediately. Lin Xian had experienced life and death, comprehended heaven and earth, and created 4 great mystiques. These 4 great mystiques were very terrifying, enough to fight against saints. With Lin Xian's current strength, if he wanted to fight against the great demon, he probably would not give the great demon a chance to use the blood sacrifice. He could use these 4 great mystiques to kill the other party. Now, his strength had improved comprehensively compared to before. It could be said that he had profited from a disaster. The benefits he had obtained from the battle were simply too great. So great that Lin Xian could not imagine it. What powerful strength! He could clearly feel the increase in his strength and he was overjoyed. After cultivating for a while, Lin Fan stabilized his condition. Lin Xian once again sat cross-legged and closed his eyes to cultivate. However, 3 days later, he opened his eyes and muttered to himself, "Not good." Outside, the dark red divine dragon also rushed in and said anxiously, "Kid, what are you feeling?" Snow White little Marquis was also blinking her big eyes. Aya, it seemed like she was going to be struck by lightning. That was indeed the case. Outside, countless thunderclouds were gathering. It seemed like a lightning tribulation was about to happen. Furthermore, from the looks of it, the lightning tribulation was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian, on the other hand, had a serious look on his face. "I wonder if I'm about to break through?" "What?" The dark red dragon widened its eyes in disbelief. "What breakthrough? Could it be that you want to break through to the Saint Realm?" Thinking of this, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Lin Xian had just broken through to the half-Saint Realm. Was he going to break through to the Saint Realm now? What kind of cultivation speed was this? If this news were to spread, it would definitely shock everyone to death. Such a young saint. There were probably only a few of them in the entire universe. However, when he thought of Lin Xian's experience, he understood. Lin Xian had fought with the great demon for half a year. That battle was truly earth-shattering. After that, he suffered from the great demon swallowing the world. That 3 years of suffering was something that others would not experience in 3,000 years. Lin Xian instantly recovered from the realm of death and reached his peak. The feeling of being reborn was probably something that other saints could not experience. This kind of experience was simply too precious. No wonder Lin Xian could break through to the Saint Realm so quickly. Alright, then break through with all your strength. We'll retreat and wait in the surroundings. This world is relatively ordinary. There are no powerful people here, and it won't attract the attention of other powerful enemies. It's best for you to break through here. As he spoke, he was about to leave with Little White. "No." Lin Xian shook his head. "No, ruffian dragon, hurry up and help me suppress it. I can't break through. I feel that this should be a fragment of the law of fire. I want to break through and become a true law of fire. That way I'll become a fire-type saint. But my goal is to become a 5-element saint. I want to collect 5 elements Tao stones and fuse the power of the 5 elements. That way, once I break through, my strength will undergo a tremendous change. Even among saints, it's extremely terrifying. Now, breaking through to the Saint Realm of Fire conflicts with my goal. Moreover, if I want to fuse the laws of the 5 elements in the future, it will probably be much more difficult than now. Therefore I can't break through now. That's true. Hearing this, the dark red dragon fell silent. That was indeed the case. After breaking through to the Saint Realm, there would be an astonishing difference in strength. Therefore it was understandable that Lin Xian did not want to break through now. Sai, I have no choice but to help you. Kid, you have to think carefully. Suppressing your cultivation is very dangerous, especially for you. Now that you're about to break through to the Saint Realm, the lightning tribulation will probably be much more terrifying than before. There's even the danger of dying. Don't worry, I've already survived the great demon swallowing the world. I'll definitely be able to withstand the lightning tribulation. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a piercing cold light. Good. The dark red dragon said. I have a way. Previously, I even thought about what would happen if I broke through to the Saint Realm of Fire. What is it? Hurry up and tell me. Lin Xian quickly asked. In the sky there were more and more thunderbolts. Even the martial artists in this world were terrified. What was going on? Why was there so much terrifying thunder? Fortunately, this world was too ordinary. In the face of such a terrifying lightning tribulation, no one dared to inquire and could only hide far away. Therefore there was no one near Lin Xian. Inside the array, the dark red dragon quickly said. With the great dragon sword soul as the core, we'll set up an array and forcefully suppress your cultivation temporarily. This way you can hold on for 2 years. However, it's only 2 years. Next time, it probably won't be so easy to suppress. After 2 years, if you don't break through to the Saint Realm, the lightning tribulation will definitely be at the level of destruction. Kid, you have to think carefully. 2 years? It's too short. Lin Xian sighed. In these 2 years, it was very likely that he wouldn't be able to find a 5-star Dao stone. However, he had to take a gamble. Otherwise, he would definitely not be satisfied if he did nothing. Alright, 2 years. 2 years it is. Hurry up and do it. Lin Xian said. The dark red dragon quickly waved its dragon claws. You control the great dragon sword soul. I'll use it as an array to form a cultivation suppression array in your body. You have to withstand it. Chapter 3284. This process lasted for 10 days and 10 nights. In the sky, the thunder clouds gradually gathered. However, on the 10th day they disappeared in a strange manner. It was a success. The snow-white monkey looked at the disappearing clouds in the sky and squeaked. The dark red divine dragon and Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. You're too abnormal. You broke through to the saint stage in such a short time. You're really envious of me. The dark red divine dragon bared its teeth and said. He hurriedly swallowed a heaven and earth treasure and said, There are only 2 years left. We don't have much time, let's hurry up and leave. Lin Xian nodded. He had 2 Dao stones in his hands now and he still had to find the other 3. And the most important thing was the magnetic stones. It could be said that there was still a long way to go. He didn't waste any time and quickly packed up. His goal was still the Langya star. Only the Langya star could tell him where the remaining Dao stones were. The last time he asked, he had already consumed most of his divine crystals and didn't have much left. He did have some gains on the elven planet, but most of them were spirit herbs that he needed. Therefore Lin Xian didn't want to give it to them. As for the Eye of Time, it was even more impossible for him to reveal it. Therefore Lin Xian was prepared to agree to the Langya star's conditions and help them in exchange for information. The Langya star was fully open at this moment, so the nearby star field was bustling again. When those powerhouses and geniuses arrived at this star field, they all sighed. This was because 3 years ago this place was still a land of death. No one dared to come here, not even saints. But now this place had regained its peace. However, the great demon and the successor of the 9 sons who had stirred up a storm that day had already disappeared. Near the star field, a spirit ship flew over. Inside, Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon looked around and heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it seemed that the Langya star was fine. This way they could enter and ask. As it wasn't his first time coming to the Langya star, Lin Xian had a certain understanding of the rules here. So this time, his speed was even faster than before. He arrived at the 12th district, the 8th hall again. This time, the one who received him was the same woman from last time. The woman looked at Lin Xian and was extremely surprised. The other party had come to ask about the whereabouts of the Dao stone so quickly? Could it be that he had obtained that Dao stone? Of course she was just curious and wouldn't ask. The rules of the Langya star forbade anyone from inquiring about their guests. Lin Xian asked again. I don't have enough divine crystals, but the last time I came, I heard that I could help you complete a task to obtain information. Would it work this time? Oh, you want to work for us in exchange for information? This time, the woman was extremely surprised. She looked at Lin Xian seriously and then nodded. Okay. Just as she was about to mention the mission, her eyebrows suddenly twitched. She heard a voice transmission. The voice transmission took her by surprise. Asking him to go to the Void Ocean meant that this kid's identity was not simple. The woman was stunned and then said, "Sir, please wait for a moment. I'll go organize the missions." With that, she turned into the void and disappeared. When she appeared again, she was in a sealed space. There were two old men sitting there, drinking tea and discussing the Tao. The woman respectfully came to the front of the two elders and greeted them. What was so special about that kid? Why did they want him to go to the Void Ocean? The Void Ocean was not a simple place. Ordinary half-sages would not be able to return after entering. Wasn't it too risky to let this kid go? One of the red-robed elders raised his head. You might not have noticed it yet, but don't forget where this kid went last time. The last time he asked about the Wood Dao stone, I gave him 3 pieces of information. The beautiful woman frowned and pondered. At this moment, the red-robed elder said again, "Among your 3 pieces of information, is one of them about the Elven planet? Think about what happened on the Elven planet in the past few years. I think you should understand." Elven planet. The woman was stunned for a moment before she seemed to have thought of something and her expression changed. The Elven planet was where the battle between the Nine Suns' successor and the Great Demon began. Could it be that this kid was related to those two? Take another guess. The red-robed elder asked with a smile that was not a smile. Could it be that this guy was the successor of the Nine Suns? The woman thought of a possibility that shocked even herself. She quickly shook her head. Impossible, the Great Demon and the successor of the Nine Suns perished together. It was impossible for the other party to be alive. This kid definitely couldn't be the successor of the Nine Suns. At this moment, the white-robed elder also turned his head. We're not sure if he's the successor of the Nine Suns because the heavenly secrets of the Nine Suns' successor are covered and we can't deduce it. If we forcefully deduce it, I'm afraid it will attract heavenly tribulation. However, the Saint Ancestor sent news that the moment the other party entered the Langya planet, the demonic aura in a certain place that still had terrifying demonic aura trembled violently and seemed to be roaring out. When others came here, there was no change at all. Even the saints had no problem descending. But when he came in, the demonic aura became crazy. This demonic aura was produced by the Great Demon. To be able to make the demonic aura of the Great Demon so violent, other than the successor of the Nine Suns, I can't think of anyone else. Hearing this, the beautiful woman's expression changed and her mind went blank. She really couldn't imagine that the young man she received had such a background. Of course, she knew that all of this was just speculation because they didn't have any evidence to prove that the other party was the successor of the Nine Suns. But these speculations were enough to shock her. Taking a deep breath, the beautiful woman asked, "May I know what the two elders mean?" The Saint Ancestor sent news that although the demonic aura scattered on the Langya planet isn't much, it's still a hidden danger. If we don't get rid of it quickly, there might be unforeseen events in the future. And the demonic aura is related to the first Great Demon. It won't be easy to get rid of it. Moreover, once the demonic aura goes crazy, who knows what kind of unforeseen events will happen. After all, the Great Demons are all lunatics. If the demonic aura self-destructs, the Langya planet will be severely damaged. Therefore, according to the Saint Ancestor, we should find a peaceful way to suppress the demonic aura. There's a Saint Dharma idol in the Void Sea. Take it out and suppress the demonic aura. This will ensure the safety of the Langya planet. After hearing this, the beautiful woman frowned. A Saint Dharma idol? Our Langya planet has more than one saint. Why do we need someone else's Saint Dharma idol? This isn't an ordinary saint. It's the great sage's Dharma idol. Moreover, in addition to being the great sage, that saint was also a king. He cultivated the righteous energy of heaven and earth, which had an extremely strong suppressive effect on demonic aura. His Dharma idol was the most suitable. Chapter 3285. Hearing this, the beautiful woman's body trembled and fear appeared in her eyes. She didn't expect there to be so many things behind this. However, the Void Sea was too dangerous. Could this kid really do it? She was still very doubtful. The red-robed elder said again, "According to our calculations, the Void Sea will open soon, but that place is controlled by a few great powers. If you want to enter that place, you can't force your way in. Let him go to planet Suzaku, get a good ranking, and then get the right to enter the Void Sea. Why don't we just let him represent us and go to the Void Sea? Why go through so much trouble?" The beautiful woman was puzzled again. What we want is the great sage Dharma idol. That thing is also a treasure to others. If we don't give that kid some benefits, do you think that kid will give us the great sage Dharma idol for nothing? Tell him that if he gets first place in the battle on planet Suzaku, he will get the Earth Dao Stone. At that time he will go to the Void Sea and get the Water Dao Stone. I think this kid wants the 5-element Dao Stone. Maybe he wants to comprehend the 5-element law. So he definitely won't refuse this news. After he gets the great sage Dharma idol, we will give him some free information and give him the title of Honorary Elder of Planet Langya. I don't think he will refuse. Indeed, although the great sage Dharma idol is precious, it is only to some people. For example, to us, it is incomparably precious. But to that kid, although it is precious, it is still a bit inferior to the Dao Stone. So, hurry up and tell him this news. Yes. The beautiful woman quickly nodded and returned to the 8th palace. May I know what mission Senior has for me? Lin Shen quickly asked. He really didn't have much time left, only 2 years. This is a chain mission. Can you do it? If you can, you might get more than 1 Dao Stone. Hearing this, Lin Shen frowned. You know that I want other Dao Stones? Based on your body temperature, I can guess a thing or two. But don't worry, our planet Langya has its own rules. We won't reveal your secrets. Yes. Lin Shen nodded. He knew that the Langya star must have strict rules for it to be able to stand for so many years and was highly respected. He wasn't too worried about this. So he said, okay, what's the mission? The beautiful woman said that in 3 months, there will be a competition on planet Suzaku. Battle on planet Suzaku? Lin Shen narrowed his eyes. What did this have to do with him? The beautiful woman said. Planet Suzaku organized this competition to give the most recent geniuses a ranking. Because recently, it was time to challenge the Abyss ranking again, but for some reason the Falling Abyss was closed. For the time being, those geniuses were unable to be ranked again. And at this time, there were still many geniuses who were fighting amongst themselves. This caused a lot of commotion. Therefore, Planet Suzaku wanted to organize a competition to gather all of the geniuses from the ancient path of stars and battle it out to determine the winner. Then a Vermilion Bird leaderboard appeared. Vermilion Bird roll. Lin Shen narrowed his eyes. What good would this do for Planet Suzaku? Naturally, it was to create momentum. Their planet Suzaku had recently obtained a genius, and they had spared no effort in promoting this genius. Oh, a genius? What kind of genius could make a planet go through so much trouble? The beautiful woman said, the successor of a great emperor, Yan Nantian. After hearing this name, Lin Shen's pupils shrank and killing intent appeared in his eyes. But soon the killing intent disappeared. What does Yan Nantian have to do with planet Suzaku? You don't know. This time, the beautiful woman was extremely shocked. This was a big thing that had happened in the past few years. Although it wasn't as big as the battle between the successor of the 9 Sons and the Great Demon, it was still something that everyone knew about. The successor of a great emperor, Yan Nantian, had joined the Suzaku Palace. Yan Nantian was very powerful, his talent was even better, and he had the inheritance of a great emperor. He was constantly improving. He was a popular candidate to become a great emperor on the path to becoming a great emperor. Many people had placed their bets on him. Think about it, if Suzaku Palace nurtured Yan Nantian to become a great emperor, then Suzaku Palace would reach the peak and suppress all the worlds. How could Suzaku Palace give up such an opportunity? There was such a thing. Lin Shen was really shocked. In these past few years he had been suppressed by the demonic energy, so he naturally didn't know what was going on outside. He didn't expect Yan Nantian to collude with Suzaku Palace. It looked like Suzaku Palace was an incredible monster. Of course, Suzaku Palace occupied the entire planet and was one of the top powers on the ancient path. Also, in order to attract powerful geniuses, Suzaku Palace had put in a lot of effort. If they could get a good result in the battle rankings, they would be able to obtain a lot of treasures. Also, they would have the right to enter the Void Sea. Void Sea. Lin Shen narrowed his eyes. What kind of place was that? Seeing Lin Shen's curiosity, the beautiful woman said, the Void Sea is still in the universe. It is a very strange place. To be honest, the main mission we are giving you is in the Void Sea. However, entering the Void Sea is very dangerous and requires a lot of strength. Therefore we will test your strength first. You will go to planet Suzaku to fight. If you can get into the top 5, then we will recognize your qualifications. Of course, don't worry, we are letting you go to planet Suzaku for your own good. If you can get to the top of planet Suzaku, then you will be able to obtain an Earth Dao Stone. Of course, even if you can't get first place, we will still give you information about the Earth Dao Stone. At the same time, entering the Void Sea is also beneficial to you, because there is the whereabouts of the Water Dao Stone. When you retrieve what we want from the Void Sea, we will give you a Metal Dao Stone. This way you will be able to obtain 3 Dao Stones. Hearing the beautiful woman's words, Lin Xian was extremely shocked. 3 Dao Stones. And from the looks of it, if everything went well, he would be able to gather 5. This made him very tempted. One had to know that he only had 2 years. Originally, he thought that it would be very difficult to complete it in 2 years. This was because it took him more than half a year just to go to the Elven planet. After that, he still had to search for a battle. It was possible to gather all of them together. But it was impossible to gather all 3. But now, the beautiful woman told him that he might be able to gather all 3 at once. This made him extremely tempted. Once he obtained these 3 Dao Stones, his 5-element Dao Stones would be complete. Next, he only needed 1 Origin Magnetic Stone. I wonder what you want me to get from the Void Sea? Lin Xian took a deep breath and asked in a low voice. Chapter 3286. The beautiful woman smiled mysteriously. Let's talk about that after you get into the top 5 of the Vermilion Bird ranking. Sure, but I have another request. If I bring back something from you, not only must you give me a Metal Dao Stone, but you must also give me a piece of information for free. Don't worry, not only will we give you a Metal Dao Stone and a piece of information for free, but we will also invite you to become an honorary elder of the Langya Star. What do you think? Honorary elder? Lin Xian asked. What's the use of that? With the protection of the Langya Star, no one will dare to provoke you. Also, after becoming an honorary elder, you can enjoy half the benefits when you ask for information. What? Half the benefits? After Lin Xian heard this, he exclaimed. He didn't care about being protected by the Langya Star, but this half the benefits were too tempting. Who knew if he would still need information in the future? The price of every piece of information was very high. If he only had to pay half, that would be great news for him. Deal. Lin Xian quickly nodded. Then young master should prepare to go to planet Suzaku to participate in the battle. I hope young master can get into the top 5 of the Vermilion Bird ranking. The beautiful woman smiled and then disappeared into the void. Lin Xian turned around and left the 8th palace. The information this time made him happy. However, he didn't expect Yan Nantian to work with the Vermilion Bird Palace. From their previous discussion, he found out that the Vermilion Bird ranking was created specifically for Yan Nantian. From the perspective of planet Suzaku, Yan Nantian was the successor of the emperor and was very powerful. His strength should have increased by leaps and bounds recently, so it shouldn't be a problem for him to get first place. However, this was without Lin Xian. Now that Lin Xian was here, Yan Nantian still wanted to get first place? What kind of joke was this? It was said that the first place would get the Earth Dao Stone. Lin Xian wouldn't give it to anyone else. Also, he had a grudge with Yan Nantian. Yan Nantian wanted to kill someone with a borrowed knife. He would definitely return this grudge. Thinking of this, he snorted coldly and rose into the air, intending to leave. Suddenly, he frowned as he felt someone using their soul to quickly scan his body. He immediately stopped and turned around to look. Not far from him, there was a young man in a green robe. His eyes were also flickering with green light, forming mysterious runes. Clearly he was using an eye technique. The other party dared to spy on him. Immediately, he coldly snorted and a golden light appeared in his eyes. In the next instant he activated his ocular technique. With a boom, invisible energy collided in the air. The azure-robed man grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned incomparably pale. What's going on? What happened to you? His companions seemed to be nearby, and they immediately flew over to support him. Nothing, let's go. The green-robed man waved his hand and quickly left with the help of his companions. Before he left, he looked at Lin Xian with shock and greed in his eyes. Lin Xian saw the other party's last gaze and he was baffled. What was going on? He didn't know this person. He shook his head and didn't pay any more attention. Time was of the essence. He had to quickly leave and head to planet Suzaku. He didn't care about anything else. His body flickered, then he flew into the sky and completely disappeared. The injured green-robed man revealed a cold gaze and said to his companions, "Where's my big brother? I want to see him. I have to see him quickly." Are you talking about Big Brother Zhao? He's in the 3rd region. Let's go. The green-robed man flew into the air and quickly flew. His 2 companions followed closely behind him. Soon they arrived at the 3rd region. The green-robed man sent a voice transmission. "Big brother, are you there? I need to see you. I have an urgent matter." Bus. The space before them fluctuated and a ray of white light rushed out from the third region. It turned into a shadow. It was a stalwart man with a powerful aura, but from the looks of it, it was only an illusion. The other party's main body was still inside. Seeing this illusion, the green-robed man was very happy. What happened? Are you injured? When the illusionary man saw this, he frowned. Big brother, I saw a person earlier. I felt an extremely terrifying power from him. That power was very obscure. If I didn't cultivate my family's eye technique, I wouldn't have been able to sense it. Hearing this, the illusionary man quickly sent a voice transmission to ask what happened next. What did you sense? I don't know. I can't explain it, but it's not any power I've seen before. It's very likely that it's one of the strongest powers. That kid definitely has it on him, and it shouldn't be his own power. Perhaps it's some kind of treasure. Hearing this, the illusionary man frowned. One of the strongest powers? Time reigns supreme and space reigns supreme. Could it be the power of space? As for the power of time, he didn't dare to imagine it at all. In his opinion, no one could control that kind of power. The power of space was already very terrifying. It was very likely that it was a space treasure. The other party actually had a space treasure. Who is it? Do you know his identity? The illusionary man said. I don't know, but I've already memorized his appearance. Also, I left the 10,000 miles incense on him. With our eye technique, we can definitely catch up to him. Big brother, hurry up and act. You mustn't miss this opportunity. Obtaining the space treasure will be of great help to you when you participate in the battle on planet Suzaku. Hearing this, the illusionary man became silent. I still have things to do in the third region, so I can't leave. This matter is very important to me. Right, what's that person's cultivation level? I don't know. I've never seen him before. He doesn't have any terrifying aura, but his soul should be stronger than mine. He injured me in an instant, and even my soul is injured. Oh, soul attack type? How about this? I'll create an avatar and enter your body. Then I'll find a few people to capture that kid. Big brother, is this okay? That kid isn't simple. The green-robed man frowned. The illusionary man sneered. So what if he isn't simple? My avatar isn't something an ordinary half-saint can resist. Besides, the people I've found this time are all the top ones on the Abyss leaderboard. Don't worry, it'll be very easy for them to capture that kid. However, I'm afraid you'll have to suffer a bit if my avatar enters your body. Don't worry, big brother. The green-robed man shook his head. The next moment, more white lights rushed out from the third region. They became stronger and stronger. Then the illusionary man's figure became more and more terrifying. His aura was much stronger than an ordinary half-saint's. Even the top geniuses couldn't compare to him. This man's avatar was so terrifying. Chapter 3287. Boom. The illusory man entered the green-robed man's body. The green-robed man let out a miserable scream. His eyes were filled with madness and pain. However, he soon stopped screaming. His eyes were incomparably deep and a cold smile appeared on his face. Someone with a spatial treasure? You can't escape from the palm of my hand. This illusory man was actually Zhao Wuliang's avatar. Zhao Wuliang was ranked 5th on the Abyss leaderboard. His strength was very terrifying. He was a veteran prodigy and a peerless expert. Moreover, it was said that he was ranked 5th 90 years ago. No one knew what level Zhao Wuliang had reached now. However, it was definitely terrifying. My current body should be able to use about 70% of my strength. However, just in case, I have to find a few helpers. After entering his younger brother's body, Zhao Wuliang frowned. He found that his younger brother's soul injury was very strange. It seemed that the other party's soul was also very powerful. He had to be careful. Also, when he read that person's appearance in his mind, he found that although the other party looked very ordinary, his calm eyes contained a sense of vastness. It seemed that he was not a simple person. As for the other party, he had never seen him before and didn't know who he was. No matter who you are, no one is my match. I remember that those purple-ranked fellows should be here as well. If I let them attack together, it will be absolutely safe. Lin Xian flew into the sky, left planet Langya, and flew toward the outer space. He was still thinking that planet Langya didn't help him and directly teleported him to planet Suzaku, saving him the trouble of flying back and forth. However, he also knew that planet Langya was still testing him to see if he was qualified to enter the Void Sea. He was afraid that planet Langya wouldn't provide him with any help before he obtained a ranking on the Suzaku leaderboard. However, he didn't care because 3 months should be enough to fly from here to planet Suzaku. However, after flying for half a day, he stopped, frowned, and coldly said, After following me for so long, it's time to come out. He was surrounded by the dark universe and there was no one around. There were only occasional flashes of light. There was no one around. Was Lin Xian talking to a ghost? Kid, your soul is quite powerful to be able to sense my presence. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. Lin Xian turned his head and saw a figure walking out from behind. He was very young and had a heroic bearing. His eyes shone with a piercingly cold light. Who are you? He asked in a deep voice. I am Gao Chong, ranked 13th on the Abyss rankings. An arrogant voice sounded. If anyone else was here and heard this, they would definitely be scared silly. This person was actually Gao Chong, ranked 13th on the Abyss leaderboard. It was truly shocking. The people ranked on the Abyss ranking were all top experts. Being ranked 13th was enough to show how powerful the other party was. Ranking 13th, Gao Chong? Lin Xian was also stunned. The other party was looking for him? Lin Xian asked. Why are you looking for me? I heard that you have a magic treasure in your possession. I wonder if you can give it to me. Gao Chong's voice was still cold, with a hint of arrogance as if he didn't put Lin Xian in his eyes. The magical equipment on my body? Lin Xian frowned. What was going on? He did have the Eye of Time. Were these people here for the Eye of Time? It shouldn't be. No one should know about this thing. Could it be that the news had been leaked? But how could it be? Lin Xian's mind raced in an instant. Suddenly he remembered that when he left the Wolf Fang planet, a man in a green robe had once used his soul to spy on him. Could it be that that man had discovered his secret? No, no one could discover the secret on his body, not even a sage. Moreover, although that man in a green robe was powerful, his soul was still much weaker than his. How could he discover his secret? Then what was going on? Magic treasure, what magic treasure? He asked with a frown. Don't hide it. We have already found out that you have a spatial magic treasure on you. Hand it over and we can let you live. At this moment, the void behind Lin Xian split open, and another voice sounded. Lin Xian glanced behind him. That person was surrounded by terrifying lightning, like a god of thunder. His powerful strength was enough to suppress an area. I am Yan Kuan, ranked 10th on the Abyss leaderboard. Even more arrogant, this voice sounded. Lin Xian didn't care about the other party's name. He was now thinking about what the other party said before. He had a spatial magic treasure on him? How was that possible? How could he have a spatial magic treasure on him? Did I mistake these people for someone else? What spatial magic treasure? I didn't. You must have recognized the wrong person, right? Lin Xian said. Hehe kid, don't quibble anymore. The news we received is absolutely true. Right at this moment, another voice sounded. Immediately after, a woman walked out. This woman was very beautiful. She was wearing a long blue dress and was slender and elegant. Her skin was like ivory and nothing could be more beautiful. Beside this woman, there was seawater surging, carrying her. Standing in the void of the universe, she was like an unharmed sea god. I am Zhong Wuqing, 8th on the Abyss leaderboard. Heavens, these three people were all on the Abyss leaderboard. Moreover, they were all top purple-ranked geniuses. They appeared together and firmly surrounded Lin Xian. Kid, it should be the green-robed man from before. He seemed to have detected something on you, but I think he guessed wrong. He thought you had a spatial magic treasure on you. The dark red divine dragon could easily pass through the black soil. Do you need my help? No need. Lin Xian also transmitted his voice. Just focus on your cultivation. I don't care about these three people. It just so happens that I've recently been reborn and my strength has broken through. Besides, I've also created a few skills. It's not a bad idea to use them as practice. Lin Xian's eyes emitted a shocking light. He looked at the three top powerhouses beside him and sneered. Oh, the purple rank on the Abyss leaderboard. The three of you together are not bad, but unfortunately you're still no match for me. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the three powerhouses around him sank. They were geniuses, half-sages. His strength was so great that no one could compare to him. Any one of them could easily defeat a group of people. If the three of them worked together, they could suppress everything. No one could escape from their hands. And yet, this kid in front of them dared to be so arrogant. How insolent. Another cold laugh was heard. I didn't care when you invited me here, but now I'm a little interested. Kid, what right do you have to be so smug in front of us? This time it was an old voice, followed by an old figure walking out. It was an old man with silver white hair and red eyes. His figure was not tall, and there was no terrifying energy surrounding him. Chapter 3288. The Giant Demon Clan. The three purple-ranked clans. The giant demon clan. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It seemed that this wasn't a young genius, but an expert of the older generation. He had heard of the giant demon clan before. It was a very terrifying clan, one of the 4 ancient races. Normally they were short and could store energy, but once they started fighting, their power was truly terrifying. They were like human-shaped tyrannosauruses. Their physiques were unimaginably strong. You think you can defeat them with just the few of you? Lin Xian didn't show any fear. If I'm not wrong, you were invited here by someone, right? Where is that person? Tell him to come out. Are you talking about me? The sky suddenly split open and a figure descended from the sky. Like a peerless saber light, he instantly appeared in front of everyone. He brought about a powerful storm, causing the expressions of the 4 top experts to change. But soon they smiled. They didn't expect that the other party would come personally. This way there would be no mistakes. Even if this kid was a true dragon, they would be able to suppress him. Sure enough, it's you. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a cold light as he stared at the figure. The other party was a handsome man with a sinister smile on his face. It was the person who had used his soul to spy on him before. Sure enough, these people were all called by the green-robed man. However, what made Lin Xian frown was that he could sense that although the green-robed man's appearance hadn't changed, his aura was different. This aura was much stronger than before. His soul was very powerful, so he could recognize at a glance that although the man from before was also a half-saint, it seemed that he had just broken through not long ago. In front of him, his strength was not enough. However, although the young man in front of him didn't deliberately release his aura, he could sense that this green-robed man was the strongest among these people. I didn't expect Brother Zhao to come personally. The beautiful woman, Zhong Wuqing, laughed coquettishly. Kid, kneel down obediently and hand over the spatial treasure. I can spare your life. Otherwise, I'll make a move and you'll definitely die. That's right, do you know who the man in front of you is? He's Zhao Wuliang, ranked 5th on the Abyss leaderboard. Do you think you can contend against him? This was immeasurable. This time it was Lin Xian's turn to be surprised. He had never imagined that the person before him would have such a background. Zhao Wuliang's ranking was very high. Furthermore, he knew that this ranking should be the ranking of Zhao Wuliang from several decades ago. Zhao Wuliang's true strength should be even higher. But why was it that when he first met the other party's aura was very weak, and he was able to easily injure the other party with soul collision? Could it be that the other party had been hiding all this while? This made him extremely puzzled. Alright kid, are you going to obediently hand over your magical treasure now, or are you going to be suppressed by us and suffer a fate worse than death? Zhao Wuliang, who was at the front, put away his smile. A piercingly cold light burst out from his eyes, enveloping this part of the world. With just you guys? I'm afraid you don't have the qualifications to be arrogant in front of me. Lin Xian circled around, completely unconcerned. He really didn't care. After all, the strongest person here was Zhao Wuliang, but Zhao Wuliang was only ranked 5th. He was ranked 1st on the Abyss leaderboard. Probably only Di Ling could compete with him. As for the others, Lin Xian really didn't put them in his eyes. Not to mention he even killed his old enemy, the Great Demon. He was even reborn and his strength had greatly increased. How could these people be his opponents? On the opposite side, those people also laughed. What an arrogant kid. Well, my strength has increased greatly over the years and I can use him to practice. Their eyes burst out with bright light. But at this moment someone made a move. It was Gao Chong, who was ranked 13th on the leaderboard. He rushed over in an instant, and the terrifying law fragments all over his body were constantly waving. One of his hands blasted forward. His entire palm quickly turned black, like black gold, and pierced through the clouds. Facing such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian didn't retreat at all. He also stretched out his palm and slapped forward. On the other party's fist, there were terrifying law fragments, and in an instant, it turned into metal. Moreover, it was a very terrifying metal. Obviously, the other party had comprehended the law of metal. Although they were both of the law of metal, the other party's comprehension was different from Lin Xian's. Lin Xian was able to increase his attack power, while his opponent was able to metallize his body, making his physique even more powerful. However, so what if he was stronger? Who dared to compete with him in terms of physique? Even the supreme demon body of the Great Demon was not his opponent. Not to mention his body was now metallized. Boom. An earth-shattering sound rang out as the two collided. It was like two mountains clashing in the sky. A terrifying aura instantly exploded, sweeping in all directions. In the endless void cracks, a figure flew out. His entire arm was completely split open and it was covered with cracks. It made one's scalp tingle. Damn it. What was going on with his physique? How could he be so strong? The one who flew out was Gao Chong. His face was full of shock and he couldn't believe it. He had comprehended the law of metal. This punch of his was so powerful that no one could withstand it. He could even compete with the old man from the giant demon clan. But now he had been injured by the other party's punch, and even his arm had been shattered. It was really hard to believe. The others were also shocked and their pupils shrank. However, at this time another person made a move. The one who made a move was the old man from the giant demon clan. When he saw the strength of Lin Xian's physique, his eyes lit up. Obviously, Lin Xian's physique had aroused his interest. His entire body shot out, instantly crashing through the void and arrived in front of Lin Xian. The powerful force caused the surrounding space to solidify, forming an invisible cage that enveloped Lin Xian. At the same time, his right leg kicked out like a coiling dragon. His target was Lin Xian's head. Boom. This kick did not have any light, only an incomparably heavy force. The void within 1,000,000 miles completely collapsed in an instant. Moreover, the aftermath of this energy quickly spread in all directions. Soon it spread over millions of miles. This kick was truly terrifying. As expected of a powerhouse from the giant demon clan. This kick could blast a half-saint into pieces. Lin Xian sneered. He still struck out with his palm and a golden light flashed. It was like a heavenly monument had been blasted out. An even more terrifying sound rang out, and the void within 1,000,000 miles shattered. The other experts also unleashed their law fragments to resist the attack. In the next moment they were dumbfounded. Chapter 3289. They found that during the collision, the giant demon clan old man's right leg quickly split open and then exploded into a mist of blood. The giant demon clan elder was also sent flying. How could this be? How could he be so strong? Gao Chong couldn't believe it. Yan Kuan and Zhong Wuqing were also shocked. Zhao Wuyang's face darkened. He was indeed strong. He should be a top expert. Don't be careless. There are countless experts in the universe and many of them aren't even on the rankings. He might be one of them. Show me your full strength. Lin Xian's strength was beyond their expectations. However, they knew that Zhao Wuyang was right. There were countless living beings in the universe and the abyss rankings couldn't rank them. There were many hidden experts. The young man in front of them might be one of them. However, so what if he was strong? The 5 of them could suppress him if they joined forces. Buzz. Yan Kuan roared. Lightning exploded from his body, forming a lightning sun that pressed down from the sky. On the other side, Zhong Wuqing also attacked. With a wave of her jade-like hand, the black seawater that filled the sky came crashing down. Boom, boom, boom. Both of their attacks covered a large area and Lin Xian was instantly enveloped. Both of them sneered. Their opponent would definitely be injured if he were to be hit by their attacks. Although they weren't close combat powerhouses, their mystiques were terrifying. Lin Xian's body began to tremble under this attack. Light blossomed from the surface of his body, but it quickly stabilized. Lin Xian roared. His body emitted millions of rays of light that rushed in all directions. In an instant he was in front of Lin Xian. The bronze spear in his hand pierced forward. The sky was filled with the law of metal like a tsunami, rushing forward to kill. Lin Xian stretched out his golden hand and grabbed the bronze spear. Then he swung it forcefully. With a clang, the bronze spear was broken in half. Gao Chong retreated. At the same time, the giant demon clan elder attacked. His physical body had become extremely terrifying. He punched out with the force of 1,000,000 mountains. The large black palm pressed toward the void. Instantly, the space around Lin Xian shattered, turning into countless large black holes. Lin Xian's body began to sway once again as light flickered on it. It was clear that the old man from the giant demon race was extremely terrifying. However, Lin Xian's physique far surpassed their imaginations. The 9-yang divine body only shook a little before it became as stable as Mount Tai. However, before Lin Xian could counterattack, the other 2 divine abilities came at him again. Ruoshui 3000. 3,000 waves rushed over, bringing with them terrifying law of water fragments. Like 3,000 black pythons, they quickly coiled around Lin Xian and bound him. It wanted to crush his body into pieces. This power was extremely terrifying and pervasive. At the same time, the lightning laws that filled the sky began to descend from the sky. They turned into tens of thousands of lightning whips, and with a gentle wave, the starry sky and outer space collapsed and the earth cracked. These 4 people were all top-notch half-saints. They were extremely terrifying. At this moment, the four of them attacked together, destroying everything. However, Lin Xian's body bloomed with light. Like a golden god of war, he stepped on the 8 wastelands and suppressed a part of the world. These energies circulated around his body, but they couldn't hurt him at all. Explode. No one knew who shouted coldly, but the energy around Lin Xian instantly exploded, and a black hole swallowed him. This time he should be dead. The four of them sneered as they stared at the black hole in front of them. But soon, the black hole was broken by a punch and a golden figure rushed out. It was Lin Xian. You're just SOSO. However, if you want my life, then go to hell. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a piercing cold light. Previously, he wanted to see how terrifying these experts on the Abyss list were. Now, it seemed that they were just SOSO. Now, these people were no match for him at all. I've seen your divine abilities. Next, you'll see my divine abilities. There was a terrifying power circulating around Lin Xian's body. How is this possible? He's not injured? When the four people saw Lin Xian rush out of the black hole, they were dumbfounded. Damn it. Their faces darkened, but in the next moment, they screamed. This was because they found that countless fire laws danced on Lin Xian's palm, forming a lotus. The flaming lotus continued to burn and expand, carrying with it a destructive power. It was as if it could destroy the world. Now, take my self-created divine ability, Annihilation Flame Lotus. With a wave of his hand, the Annihilation Flame Lotus flew out and instantly enveloped Gao Chong and the giant demon clan elder. No. Damn it. The two of them roared crazily. One of them circulated with green light and completely turned into metal. The other giant demon clan elder took out a white giant hammer and waved it. Chapter 3290. Boom. The Annihilation Fire Lotus enveloped the two of them and erupted with unparalleled power. Everything in front of them was annihilated. When the Fire Lotus disappeared, Yan Kuan and Zhong Wuqing were stunned. They were so frightened that their bodies trembled and their scalps split open. Because Gao Chong and the giant demon race old man had disappeared, only blood floated down from the sky. The two of them had died without leaving behind a corpse. How was this possible? Gao Chong was an expert ranked 13th on the rankings. The law of metal made his body abnormally strong after turning it into metal. The giant demon race old man was the same. In fact, he was even more terrifying than Gao Chong. The two of them were extremely terrifying physique experts among half-sages. But now, the two of them had been reduced to ashes, their bodies and souls destroyed. Who was this kid? What on earth was that flame lotus just now? Was it a self-created ability? What a joke. They didn't believe that a young man could create such a terrifying ability. Brother Zhao, we don't care about this matter anymore. We don't want the reward you gave us. Yan Kuan and Zhong Wuqing hurriedly turned around and fled. It was too terrifying. If that Annihilation Fire Lotus had flown towards them, they probably wouldn't have been able to block it. Originally, Zhao Wuliang had found them and offered them extremely high rewards to lure them into action. In their opinion, with so many experts attacking together, they would even dare to fight a saint. But now they discovered that they had been too naive. They had met this person who was extremely terrifying and unfathomable. He could kill an expert on the Abyss rankings with a raise of his hand. They absolutely couldn't provoke such a person. The two of them were both peak half-sages and were extremely powerful. In an instant they were 1,000,000 miles away. Facing the two fleeing people, Lin Xian didn't chase after them. His eyes flickered with golden light as he stared at the two figures 1,000,000 miles away. In the next moment he clasped his fingers and gently flicked them. The black nomological law fragment quickly fused into the void and disappeared without a trace. 1,000,000 miles away, the two of them let out a sigh of relief. In an instant they would be able to travel 20,000 miles away and leave this place completely. Then they would leave and no longer care about this matter. But in the next moment, before they could move, they were frightened to the point that their bodies went numb. An extremely terrifying force surged towards them. Not good. Their expressions changed. Even though they were millions of miles away, the other party was still able to attack them with such precision. This truly surprised them. However, the two of them would not sit still and wait for death. Yan Kuan opened his mouth and spat out a terrifying bolt of thunder. Endless fragments of thunder laws wove together to form a thunder Dao diagram that revolved around him. Zhong Wuqing was even more powerful. She was ranked 8th on the Abyss rankings. At this moment, with a wave of her hands, she actually summoned the first heaven water. This was an extremely terrifying type of water, incomparably thick and heavy. It was rumored that the first heaven heavy water could crush a half-saint to death. At this moment she summoned it to block in front of her. blocking that terrible attack. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief after summoning their strongest defensive measures. However, in the next moment their hair stood on end. They wanted to escape, but they couldn't. They saw that the lightning Tao diagram in the heavenly water were quickly disappearing and melting. In the blink of an eye they were gone. Not only that, but their bodies were also gradually disintegrating, as if they were about to be annihilated. No. The two of them screamed and blocked crazily, but they couldn't block this annihilation power at all. In the next moment, their minds were destroyed and they didn't even have time to scream. Dead. 2 experts on the Abyss rankings had died again. Now, 3 top experts on the Abyss rankings and a giant demon expert had all been killed. This was really too unbelievable. In the distance, Zhao Wuliang looked at this scene and sucked in a breath of cold air. The other party actually had such a method. Who was this person? He realized that he seemed to have made a wrong decision by coming to find the other party. He wanted to leave, but he knew that he couldn't leave, because he was locked onto by the other party's gaze. Stop. If you have something to say, let's talk nicely. I'm ranked 5th. If you want to kill me, you'll have to pay a great price. Maybe we'll all die together. Why don't we shake hands and make peace? I know the whereabouts of the Void Treasure, and we'll join forces to search for it. How about it? If there were others here, they would definitely be stunned. Because Zhao Wuliang actually admitted defeat. This was really too unbelievable. This was Zhao Wuliang, who was ranked 5th on the Abyss rankings, but at this moment he had no choice but to lower his head in front of Lin Xian. No need. Since you dared to come and kill me and you even joined forces with so many experts, do you think I'll let you go? You're courting death. Zhao Wuliang was furious. Who dared to not give him face? He raised his hand and a ray of light shot out. However, his body flew into the distance. There was no other way. Lin Xian's methods were too terrifying. With a raise of his hand, 4 top half-saints were killed just like that. He didn't dare to fight such a person head-on. Lin Xian blasted the blade light away with a punch. He looked ahead at the figure that had escaped into the darkness, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. I said you can't escape. In an instant he flicked his finger. He flicked his finger and immediately the power of annihilation flew out again. The void in front of him quickly collapsed. Zhao Wuliang screamed like a madman. He shot out shocking blade light, but he was still unable to stop the power of annihilation. Buzz. Suddenly he stopped in place. A ray of white light merged into the void and disappeared. Pucci. The body of the green-robed man. He turned into ashes in the air. During this process a scream was heard. It was very painful, but it only lasted for a moment. There was no trace of him. Zhao Wuliang was also killed. The 5 top half-saints who came to kill Lin Xian were all killed here. This was really too shocking. One had to know that this wasn't a life-and-death battle, but a one-sided massacre. After Lin Xian was reborn and created his own divine ability, his strength had undergone earth-shattering changes. The current half-saints were no match for him at all. Perhaps only a sage would be able to contend against him. However, Lin Xian frowned and seemed to be a little puzzled. Golden light flickered in his eyes and soon, the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. So that's how it is. You actually have 2 souls. Although I don't know what's going on, come out. He waved his hand. In front of him, in the dark void, a scream was heard as someone flew away quickly. The original darkness was shrouded in endless flames and burned fiercely. Then, a hazy white figure appeared and floated in the void. Its eyes were cold. Damn it, how did you find me? He looked very similar to the green-robed man from before, but his eyes were more terrifying. It was obvious that this wasn't the green-robed man from before. Chapter 3291. The figure in front of him snorted coldly. I am the real Zhao Wuliang. Is that so? I'm afraid this isn't your true body either. You actually dared to send a clone to kill me. You really don't know what's good for you. Lin Xian immediately understood what was going on. At their level, it wasn't difficult to create a body of energy and inject their soul into it to form a clone. Lin Xian could create multiple doppelgangers, but such doppelgangers were created from his own energy and soul. If they were killed, it would cause considerable damage to his main body. Therefore, after using the doppelgangers, he would usually retrieve his soul and the doppelganger's energy form. It seems that your true body can't move. What will happen if I kill your clone? Lin Xian sneered. Damn it! You dare to kill my clone? Zhao Wuliang roared crazily. If his clone was destroyed, his body would definitely be injured. It would be dangerous for him to participate in the Vermilion Bird List competition. Kid, I didn't want to attack you at first, but you forced my hand. In front of him, the white figure quickly formed a seal. A piercing light burst out from its eyes, forming a strange pattern. Then the space in front of him was instantly torn open. Lin Xian was also sent flying. With a clang, his body swayed and a crack appeared on it. This is saber technique. He was surprised. He quickly suppressed the roiling blood in his body, and the crack on his body also healed. He was surprised that his opponent's eye technique attack was so powerful. It was really rare. One had to know that ordinary eye techniques attacked the soul. For example, he had mastered many kinds of eye techniques. He could burn the soul, control the soul, and even cast illusions on the soul. However, it was rare to see an eye technique that directly attacked the true body, especially one that was so powerful. His opponent's eye technique was very strange. He didn't die? Zhao Wuliang was surprised. His face was cold. Damn it, he was only slightly injured? He found it hard to believe. His eye technique was very famous. It was called the Divine Eye of the Heavenly Saber. His saber light was too cold. No one among the half-saints could withstand it. He had even used his eye technique to cut open a half-saint artifact. Originally, he thought that if he used his eye technique unexpectedly, he would definitely be able to cut his opponent in half. If he was lucky, he might even be able to kill his opponent. But who would have thought that even though the other party was pushed back, cracks would also appear on his body? However, that was all. With a slight sway of his body, he recovered to his original state. From the looks of it, he was not seriously injured at all. What a strange ocular technique. Lin Xian flew over and said coldly. However, even if your main body was here, you might not be able to hurt me, let alone a mere clone. Damn it. You dare to destroy my clone? My main body will definitely not let you off. The white silhouette in front of him roared crazily. If your true body dares to come here, I'll kill you as well. A fiery red lotus appeared in Lin Xian's hand and flew forward. Zhao Wuliang's clone frantically counterattacked. However, the power of the destruction lotus was something he could not block at all. Thus, in an instant, the clone vanished into thin air. Lin Xian didn't care about Zhao Wuliang's original body at all. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, 5 storage rings flew over from the sky. They were the storage rings of the 5 half-saints from before. Lin Xian's soul entered the storage rings and he smiled. It looked like his harvest was not bad. At least, he had earned back all the divine crystals he had lost from collecting information and even more. It was time to go to planet Suzaku. Lin Xian entered the spirit boat and quickly threw out a shield. 2.5 months later, they arrived at planet Suzaku. At this moment, planet Suzaku was very lively. The moment the news of the Suzaku ranking competition came out, countless powerful cultivators and geniuses rushed over. After all, everyone wanted to become famous and gain the support of a powerful force. For example, Yan Nantian was so famous that he could gain the support of the Suzaku Palace. And if someone else rose up during the Suzaku ranking competition, then they would definitely gain the support of other top forces. If that happened, there would be an endless supply of cultivation resources in the future. Lin Xian's spirit boat landed on the ground and found that there were many spirit boats flying by. Each of them carried a powerful aura. Wow, there are actually so many people. The dark red dragon was startled. Lin Xian also circled the area. There were indeed a lot of people, but he didn't care. Aside from a few people who could threaten him, the others couldn't even withstand a single blow. Kid, let's keep a low profile later. After all, Yan Nantian is in cahoots with the Suzaku Palace. And the Suzaku Palace is the overlord of this planet. If we are discovered, Yan Nantian will secretly mobilize powerful cultivators of the Suzaku Palace to kill us before the competition even starts. Then the situation won't be good. Okay, I'll try to keep a low profile. Lin Xian nodded, but a hint of killing intent appeared in his eyes. The dark red dragon sighed. However, he knew that Lin Xian's strength had increased greatly. Even a sage might not be able to suppress him. However, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he still changed his form. He was no longer in his dragon form but a man in a black robe. After the dark red dragon transformed into his human form, he was extremely handsome and elegant. However, there was a hint of arrogance in his smile. Come, kid, take a look at my human form. What do you think? Am I handsome? Would he be able to charm those girls to death? Lin Xian. After leaving the atmosphere, Lin Xian and the dark red dragon left the spirit boat and looked around. Let's find a city to land in first. The two of them chose a direction and quickly flew away. Yeah, let's go in that direction. Along the way, the little white monkey pointed to the left. Okay, let's go there. Lin Xian and the dark red dragon changed directions. After flying for about 4 hours, they saw a huge city appear in front of them. Their luck was not bad. The two of them flew toward the huge city. Sunset City. Looking at this city, it should be one of the main cities of planet Suzaku. After entering, they learned that this was indeed one of the 12 main cities of planet Suzaku. It was very lively inside, and there was an endless stream of powerful cultivators. It was obvious that these people had all come from other worlds and landed here. Suddenly Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The dark red dragon also looked up at the sky. Someone was coming. Sure enough, everyone else also looked up at the sky. They all felt a powerful pressure crushing down from the sky. There was no doubt that this was an extremely powerful cultivator. Whoosh! A few figures descended from the sky. However, these figures were soon taken away. Their powerful auras still lingered in the air. Who were those figures just now? He couldn't see them clearly. There must be something on their bodies that was concealing their auras. Sounds of discussion could be heard. The Vermilion Bird trial had indeed attracted countless powerful cultivators this time. Of course, they couldn't enter the abyss for the time being. If others wanted to become famous, they could only enter the Vermilion Bird trial. Who would be coming this time? Chapter 3292. It had to be Yan Nantian. He was like the sun in the sky, and he was the successor of a great emperor. More importantly, he had joined the Vermilion Bird Palace. It was said that the Vermilion Bird leaderboard was created for him. Indeed, Yan Nantian was very powerful, and there was probably no one who could contend against him. How terrifying was the successor of a great emperor? Unless the successor of a great emperor or the son of a great emperor came. Not necessarily. Someone retorted, I think that if the successor of the 9 sons and the great demon came, they would definitely be able to compete with him. As soon as he said this, the surrounding warriors all nodded in agreement. Indeed, the news of the great demon and the successor of the 9 sons had spread throughout the universe. Many people knew about it, and they had even seen the recorded images. However, some people shook their heads. It was useless. The two of them had died together, and they would never appear again. Yes, the dead were not qualified to compete with Yan Nantian. However, there were still a few people alive who could threaten Yan Nantian. Yes, the number 1 on the Abyss leaderboard definitely had the strength. There was also Long Zhaotian and Zhao Wuliang. They were both very terrifying. You seem to have forgotten someone. Yan Ryu, that peerless beauty. Her name was only above Zhao Wuliang's. Everyone discussed animatedly, and the names on the leaderboard appeared one after another. At that moment, someone said, if that's the case, then you've missed out on one person. That was the number 1 on the leaderboard, Lin Wudi, who was on par with Di Ling. That Lin Wudi was indeed very strong. He was actually ranked first on the leaderboard. However, recently Yan Nantian, Zhao Wuliang, and the other's strength had increased by leaps and bounds. They should be able to compete with Lin Wudi. They were all talking about the top 5 existences on the Abyss leaderboard. That was because those people were the most likely to compete with Yan Nantian, and most of them were candidates for the number 1 on the Vermilion Bird leaderboard. However, someone said, don't be too careless. As far as I know, many hidden experts have appeared this time. There are even rumors that a saint has arrived. What? A saint-level expert? When those words were said, the surrounding people were stunned. What kind of concept was that? A saint had come to participate in the Vermilion Bird leaderboard. Yan Nantian, Di Ling, Zhao Wuliang, and the others were all half-martial Sacred Realm experts. Of course, I've only heard about it. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if there will be any saints, but I heard that there might be a few new top geniuses who will be born soon. Among them, there seemed to be a few geniuses from the Vermilion Bird Palace. They hadn't stood out before, nor had they participated in the Abyss rankings, but their talent and strength were abnormally strong. This time he might be able to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat and defeat those veteran experts. Everyone was discussing this. Without exception, it was clear that the competition for the Vermilion Bird leaderboard was even more intense than the Abyss leaderboard. There were actually so many experts here. It seemed like there was no hope this time. Many people sighed. Initially, they had thought that the battle this time might not be that famous, and that not many people would come. Other than Yan Nantian, they might be able to take advantage of the other rankings. But now it seemed that they had been too naive. The influence of the Vermilion Bird leaderboard had far exceeded their expectations. It had actually attracted so many experts, and it was even rumored that saints were about to descend. These people could only be bystanders. But no matter what, they had to give it a try. After Lin Xian and the Dark Red Dragon heard this, their eyes flickered. Suddenly Lin Xian frowned and a piercing cold light burst out from his eyes. He saw a person looking at them from a few streets not far from him. He was dumbfounded as if he couldn't believe it. That person was wearing a red robe with 2 patterns embroidered on it. It was very strange. When he saw Lin Xian's gaze, he immediately trembled and withdrew his gaze. He turned around and disappeared into the void. What's going on? The dark red divine dragon asked when it saw Lin Xian's expression change. I saw someone very strange, so I'll go take a look. After saying this, his body flickered and he also disappeared. While the others were still discussing which experts had arrived, a figure quickly shuttled back and forth. He was sweating profusely. This man was wearing a red robe. He was from the Vermilion Bird Palace. At this moment he was extremely frightened because he saw someone who shouldn't have appeared. How could the successor of the 9 sons still be alive? This person had seen Lin Xian before because he had seen Lin Xian's portrait from Yan Nantian. At that time, he was only curious about the true appearance of the successor of the 9 sons who could compete with the great demon. Therefore he saw Lin Xian's portrait. But today he saw a person who looked exactly like the successor of the 9 sons. This made him extremely frightened. Could it be that the successor of the 9 sons wasn't dead? No, this news had to spread. He had to inform the Vermilion Bird Palace and Yan Nantian. They had to be on guard and even take action in advance. There was no other way. The successor of the 9 sons was too terrifying. Even the great demon was no match for him. Now that he was alive, he was a huge threat to Yan Nantian. Where do you think you're going? At this moment, a cold voice came from behind him. Immediately after, the Vermilion Bird Palace warrior's body trembled and he turned around. He was scared out of his wits. Damn it, it's you? You're the successor of the 9 sons. You're not dead? He was extremely shocked. Looks like you do recognize me. Since that's the case, I can't let you live. If I'm not wrong, you should know Yan Nantian. That's right. Not only do I know Yan Nantian, I'm also from the Vermilion Bird Palace. This is our territory. Hurry up and let me go. Otherwise, if you anger me, the Vermilion Bird Palace will destroy your body and soul. You still dare to threaten me? Looks like you really don't know what's good for you. Since you're Yan Nantian's man, then die. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a cold light. Courting death. You dare to attack me? The Vermilion Bird Palace warrior's expression changed. He roared crazily. Man, the successor of the 9 sons is here. His voice was like thunder, resounding in all directions. However, Lin Xian sneered. Don't waste your energy. I've already set up an array. Even if you scream yourself hoarse, the people outside won't know. Damn it, I'll fight it out with you. The Vermilion Bird Palace warrior roared crazily. A flaming saber appeared in his hand. The fragments of the law of fire on it burned fiercely. He was also a half-saint. The saber slashed down like a vermilion bird pouncing over. Buzz. Lin Xian pointed forward and a wisp of sword chi flew out. The next moment he retracted his hand and stood with his hands behind his back. How was that possible? Chapter 3293. He discovered that his life force had been extinguished. His body was turning into nothingness. The other party had killed him with one move? Was this the successor of the 9 sons? How could he be so terrifying? He wanted to struggle, but in an instant he disappeared. His body and soul had been destroyed. It seemed that this was a little troublesome. Lin Xian frowned. He didn't expect someone to recognize him. The other party was right. After all, this was Vermilion Bird. He didn't want to attract the attention of a few sages before the competition. If it was a normal ranking, he would just cause a ruckus here and leave. However, he couldn't do that now. He had an agreement with Planet Langia, and first place in the Vermilion Bird rankings was very important to him. He had to get the Earth Dao Stone. The next moment, Lin Xian waved his hand and a hazy light appeared around his body. His face was especially mysterious. It blocked all gazes. Even one's soul couldn't see through it. This way, no one should be able to discover him, right? At least before the competition, he would be safe. After doing all this, he returned to the Dark Red Divine Dragon. The Dark Red Divine Dragon was shocked at first. Who was this person? When he reached out with his soul, he couldn't see the other party's face clearly. Lin Xian said, "It's me. Kid, it's actually you. What's going on? One of Yan Nantian's subordinates discovered me, but I already killed him. Damn it, has Yan Nantian's faction become so powerful? Even the people of Vermilion Bird Palace can work for him." It seemed that he didn't just join Vermilion Bird Palace. Just ignore him. When the competition starts, I'll just kill him. Lin Xian didn't care too much. Let's go find a place to stay. They waited for the Vermilion Bird rankings to begin. The two of them left. They found a place to stay. Originally, the place was overcrowded and there wasn't even a place to stay. However, Lin Xian had just killed 5 peak half-sages. He had a lot of resources in his storage ring. It could be said that he was filthy rich. He directly used resources to forcefully build a courtyard. After entering, the Crimson Divine Dragon set up a formation. Lin Xian also looked around. Not bad, the environment here was not bad. There was a spirit gathering formation in the surroundings and a spirit vein underground. It was indeed a good place to live temporarily. The two of them rested for a while. When it was late, they prepared to go out and eat something. At their cultivation level, eating and drinking was no longer important. However, there were still many half-sages and even sages. They weren't eating but tasting delicious food. The dark red mystical dragon was even more so. He was drooling. On the way here, he had heard that someone had hunted a heaven and earth variant. He wondered how delicious it would be. Lin Xian and the Crimson Divine Dragon were walking out. There were a few young experts around them who were extremely excited. He had heard that the people from the Sky Qin Palace had come, and that they were going to play the zither today. He had to listen to that peerless celestial music. He definitely could not miss it. That's right, I wonder who is so generous to actually be able to invite people from the Sky Qin Palace. If it was those geniuses, it would be even better. Rumor had it that their music contained the Tao of heaven and earth. After listening to it, it would be very beneficial to one's cultivation and comprehension of heaven and earth. As they spoke, they turned into streaks of light and shot forward at high speed. Sunset Pavilion? Sky Qin Palace? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The vermilion bird beside him was also shocked. Is it that sect? They actually came too. Oh, you know? The vermilion bird palace nodded. The Sky Qin Palace is very famous. It probably isn't any worse than the vermilion bird palace. However, the Sky Qin Palace isn't on planet Suzaku. It's on another world. Their sect's weapon is the zither. Their spells are also related to the zither. Let's go and take a look. Perhaps there will be some unexpected gains. The vermilion bird was also a bit excited. Okay. Lin Xian nodded. The two of them also walked toward the Sunset Pavilion. The Sunset Pavilion was very lively at the moment. It was packed with people. They weren't ordinary people but very powerful cultivators. There were even a few half-sages here. However, none of them entered the Sunset Pavilion. The reason for that was because the fee to enter the Sunset Pavilion was extremely high. Even a normal half-sage would feel the pinch. Damn it, this Sunset Pavilion is taking advantage of the situation. Many people in the crowd gritted their teeth. Lin Xian and the vermilion bird walked to the front. Their eyes lit up. There were also many people inside. It was obvious that they were all even more terrifying existences. Lin Xian didn't care about the huge entrance fee. He took out the corresponding amount from the storage rings of the Vermilion Bird Palace cultivators he killed and then walked in with the Vermilion Bird Palace with the Vermilion Bird Palace cultivator. There were indeed many people inside, and all of them had outstanding talents and powerful auras. It was obvious that they were powerful cultivators. There were already many people sitting at the front. The Sunset Pavilion standards were very high. Everyone here had status, so no one was willing to squeeze with others. Therefore, everyone had a certain area where they sat. It was really carefree and happy. There were only 2 seats left. Lin Xian and the Vermilion Bird Palace walked to them. The two had just sat down when they heard a cold voice. This place is already occupied. Get lost. As soon as this voice sounded, countless gazes looked at Lin Xian and the Vermilion Bird Palace. Lin Xian's face flickered, so his expression couldn't be seen clearly. However, the Vermilion Bird Palace beside him was furious. Someone actually told them to get lost. Did they have a death wish? Who's making a big fuss here? Get over here. The Vermilion Bird Palace also snorted coldly. As soon as this voice sounded, many people became interested. Their eyes were filled with schadenfreude. They actually dared to oppose Brother Yun. They really had a death wish. Who were these 2 people? Did they have a powerful background? They didn't recognize them. They looked unfamiliar. However, they must have some status to be able to come here. So what if they had status? They would definitely end up in a miserable state. Sounds of discussion could be heard. Indeed, as soon as the Vermilion Bird Palace's voice sounded, a figure walked over from the front. It was a tall man in a cloud robe. His face was cold. At this moment, his eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at the Vermilion Bird Palace. You were the one who dared to scold me just now? Damn, you dare to provoke me? The Vermilion Bird Palace was about to go berserk, but it was held down by Lin Xian. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the other party. We paid to enter this place. Naturally we can sit here. I don't want to kill you. Get out of my sight. Although Lin Xian wasn't angry, his words sounded even more arrogant. The surrounding people started discussing. Damn, this kid is even more arrogant. Who is he? He doesn't want to kill? Heavens, he still wants to kill the other party? I think this kid's mind will be destroyed. No one has ever dared to threaten me. Kid, don't force me to kill you. At this moment, another person walked out from behind the Vermilion Bird Palace. He looked at Lin Xian and sneered. Chapter 3294. Our brother Yun's elder brother is a peerless prodigy known as Gui Jian. Our brother Yun's uncle is Cloud Sky Saint. Can you afford to offend him? Cloud Sky Saint. Lin Xian was stunned. It seemed that the other party's background was not small, but so what? The dark red dragon beside him also sneered. What, Gui Jian? Never heard of him. You guys really don't know what's good for you. You haven't even heard of Gui Jian? Let me tell you, Gui Jian is the favorite to win the championship this time. Do you know that? Now that you dare to provoke Gui Jian's younger brother, hurry up and kneel down, kowtow, and admit your mistakes. As the voice sounded, the atmosphere in the entire space froze. Everyone was sneering. They knew that Lin Xian and Yun He were dead meat. However, Lin Xian raised his head, and the corners of his mouth curled into a disdainful smile. So it was a fox pretending to be a tiger. After saying so much, it's just that your brother and uncle are powerful. You should be a good-for-nothing. If you want to find trouble with me, at least get your uncle and brother here, right? You don't have the right. Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. You're courting death. In front, the tall man was enraged. No one had ever dared to provoke him like this. He raised his hand and a terrifying aura surged from his body. However, in the next moment he flew out with a bang. Lin Xian slowly retracted his palm. I hate it when people threaten me. Boom. The tall youth flew out. He shattered the void with a sound like thunder. The surrounding elite cultivators were all dumbfounded. Someone actually dared to attack Yun He. Did he want to die? The dark red dragon laughed loudly. Kid, how satisfying. I've long wanted to attack you. Yun He was sent flying by Lin Xian's palm. He shattered the void and the blood in his body roiled. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his entire face was terrifyingly black. He attacked. The other party actually dared to attack him. No one had ever dared to touch him. One had to know that once his brother and uncle's names were out, even the top prodigies did not dare to touch him. Even Yan Nantian did not dare to touch him. Yet the other party dared to touch him? He wanted the other party dead. He wanted the other party's soul to be destroyed. Kill. With a roar, Yun He rushed over. He struck out with his palm with terrifying power. Mysterious cloud patterns appeared between his fingers. Clearly this was the law of clouds. Lin Xian wasn't afraid as he stared at the terrifying white cloud hand. He waited until the hand was right in front of him before he shot out a flame. The fire burned, igniting the white cloud palm. Yun He screamed. His body was on fire and white smoke rose from his body. The pain drove him crazy. Damn it, he was really mad. He could not believe that the other party's comprehension of laws was actually above his. Just as he screamed, in the next moment he fell to the ground, trembling uncontrollably. That was because the overflowing flames had turned into a fire dragon, spiraling around him. Like a coiling dragon, it suppressed the other party to the ground. Ah, damn it, I'm going to kill you. Yun He screamed like a madman as a terrifying force rushed out of his body. A large azure banner flew out of his eyes. It fluttered in the wind and turned into a storm, entangling the coiling dragon phantom. Whoosh! He rushed out. A silver sword appeared in his hand and he stabbed forward. Both of them were half-step sacred artifacts. The biting cold sword Qi stabbed forward and instantly arrived in front of Lin Xian. But in the next moment he was sent flying again. Lin Xian stretched out a large golden hand and slapped forward. It was like a golden mountain, and it instantly turned the other party's arm into a bloody mist. The half-step sacred artifact sword fell to the ground, and Yun He spat out blood as he flew backward. Lin Xian pointed again, and the terrifying law of water surged out, turning into a monstrous wave that surged in front of him. Boom, boom, boom. The seawater hit Yun He's body, smashing his body. Yun He's body was like a broken piece of porcelain, covered in cracks. In the end, he was pressed to the ground by the wave, unable to resist at all. The surrounding people gasped and their faces were full of shock. Yun He was actually suppressed. And he was easily beaten up. This was simply too inconceivable. Some of the people who knew Yunhe were even more shocked. They knew that Yunhe was arrogant, but Yunhe was not weak. His opponent was a half-step sacred and a genius. It was just that he was overshadowed by his uncle and brother's brilliance. But if anyone underestimated Yunhe because of this, they would definitely be at a disadvantage or even lose their lives. But such a genius expert was actually beaten up. Who was this person in front of them? Why was his strength so terrifying? For a moment the air was terrifyingly quiet. Damn it, how dare you attack Brother Yun? The few people who came with Yunhe were also furious. Two of them attacked wildly, charging towards Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian pressed him to the ground with a slap. Their bodies were torn apart and blood splattered everywhere. The terrifying smell of blood made one's scalp feel like it was about to explode. Lin Xian's gaze swept in all directions with a trace of terrifying coldness. The others did not dare to act rashly. After suppressing the three of them, Lin Xian withdrew his hand. He slowly walked to the side, sat down, and poured himself a glass of spirit wine. He raised the wine glass and looked at Yunhe, who was being suppressed by the monstrous sea, and sneered. Do you think I'm qualified? There was a trace of mockery in his voice. Yunhe was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Damn it, not only did he beat him up and suppress him, he even dared to mock him. This was a slap in the face. The people around him were all heaven stage experts. If he could not fight back, how could he survive in the future? Damn brat, I'm going to kill you. I must kill you. Yunhe screamed like a madman, and his killing intent soared to the sky. But he could not rush out at all. Lin Xian sneered. You. Oughta kill him for me. Tear him into pieces. Yunhe roared. Boom. As the voice fell, the ground sank and then a figure walked over. This was a burly man. He walked like a tiger and exuded the might of a dragon. His physique was extremely strong. The moment he appeared, the surrounding void shattered rapidly, unable to withstand a single blow. It was obvious that Ada was Yunhe's guard, and his strength was probably stronger than Yunhe's. Ada usually protected Yunhe's safety, but at this moment his master was being suppressed here. He had long wanted to take action, and now that he received Yunhe's order, he no longer had any scruples. A large bronze hand stretched out and covered the sky. In an instant, it was above Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon trying to catch them. But his main target was still Lin Xian. You want to compete with me in close combat? Lin Xian had a strange look on his face. The dark red divine dragon beside him also sneered. He shook his head, knowing that Ada would end up badly. In the next moment he raised his fist and punched forward. Boom. Their palms collided and cracks spread out in the void. However, the Sunset Pavilion was not an ordinary place. The array was immediately activated and covered everything. Chapter 3295. The entire Sunset Pavilion was shaking. The violent power swept across the world, rushed out of the pavilion and flew into the sky. Those who were still waiting outside and trying to go in all trembled. Their eyes were filled with horror. What a violent aura. Many people turned pale. At the same time they were shocked. What was going on? Could it be that there were people fighting inside? Oh my God. What happened? They frantically reached out their souls trying to find out. Inside the Sunset Pavilion, it was terrifyingly quiet. Only the sound of blood dripping could be heard. Ada, the terrifying strength-type half-saint, had his palms split open. His body trembled and many cracks appeared. He kept retreating, his face full of shock. He had just exchanged a blow with the other party. In his opinion, the other party was powerful, but his strength was definitely not as strong as his. He might be able to suppress the other party with his own strength, but the outcome was beyond his expectations. He was defeated by the other party with one punch. The other party surpassed him in both strength and physique. He was no match for the other party at all. The surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air. Just who was this kid? They did not know. They could not see his face clearly. They were blocked by the hazy light. Countless people's eyes shone with a piercing light. They wanted to see through Lin Xian's real face. However, they could not do it at all. On the other side, Yunhe, who was suppressed by the sea, saw this scene and his pupils shrank. How could it be? Even Ada was no match for the other party? Lin Xian withdrew his palm. He nodded slightly at Ada. The other party could take his punch without turning into a bloody mist. He had to admit that the other party's strength was not bad. But compared to him, the gap between them was like heaven and earth. What other tricks do you have? Show them all. Lin Xian picked up the wine cup again and swirled the spirit wine inside. Damn kid, don't be so arrogant. If my brother Guyun Jian was here, You would not dare to be so presumptuous. He gritted his teeth. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? It seems that I haven't taught you a lesson yet. How about this? I'll suppress you for 100 years, then I'll teach you a good lesson. Lin Xian's voice was cold, and the others felt their scalps go numb. He was so angry that he vomited blood. The other party's tone was too arrogant. He treated him like a slave. But at this moment the sound of a zither rang out, causing everyone to calm down. Even the killing intent and bloody light that filled the sky disappeared. It was as if a pair of gentle hands had come and soothed their hearts. What a strange sound. Lin Xian was also stunned and turned to look. In front of him, a beautiful figure in white walked over. She held a guqin and gently played it. His fingers, which were as smooth as white jade, moved across the zither strings. Immediately, a pleasant sound was heard. At the same time, a clear voice sounded. The Vermilion Bird Tournament is about to begin. Right now, the most important thing for the young masters to do is to relax and not fight. They were from the Sky Qing Palace. Many people cried out in surprise, revealing a trace of ecstasy on their faces. They had come this time to listen to the celestial music played by the prodigies of the Sky Qing Palace. Lin Xian also squinted his eyes. Indeed, the Sky Qing Palace had some tricks up their sleeves. This music contained a mysterious power. Alright, since the fairy said so, then he would spare his life. Lin Xian waved his hand and sent Ada and Yunhe, who was lying on the ground, flying out. The strong wind swept the two of them out of the sunset pavilion. The people outside were still using their souls to investigate. Suddenly they cried out in surprise. They saw two figures fly out from inside, shattering the void and landing on the ground. Many large cracks appeared in the surrounding space, and many people frantically retreated. Who was this? They were puzzled. A few half-saints among them cried out in surprise. Heavens, it was young Master Yun. Young Master Yun? Which young Master Yun? The others were puzzled. Someone screamed. Of course it was Yunhe, young Master Yun. What? Was him? You mean that young Master Yun whose brother was the Cloud Sword and whose uncle was a saint? That's right, it was him. Many people cried out in surprise. After hearing this, the others gasped. They could not believe that such a terrifying young Master Yun had been beaten out. Heavens, who was the one fighting inside? A peerless genius? However, even a peerless genius would not easily offend young Master Yun. After all, his uncle was a saint. The Yun family was a top family clan. Damn kid, just you wait. This matter will not be settled so easily. I'm going to tear you to shreds. Yunhe's face was cold and he was trembling with anger. However, he did not attack again. Ada, let's go. The two of them tore through the void and escaped in an instant. In the sunset pavilion, the melodious sound of a zither could be heard. Everyone was intoxicated by the sound. Even Lin Xian was very surprised. Indeed, he found that the sound of the zither was helpful for him to comprehend heaven and earth. Needless to say, the person playing the zither should also be a half-saint. Moreover, it should be an extremely terrifying one. In addition, the sound of the zither and the zither itself should be a rare treasure in the world. That was why it could prevent others from comprehending the way of heaven and earth. After the sound of the zither, everyone was still comprehending. In front, the woman from the Sky Qing Palace had left. Where did the fairy go? After a while, someone opened his eyes in surprise. No one knew where she had gone. Lin Xian opened his eyes as well. A mysterious light flickered in his eyes. He was shocked and delighted at first, but then he shook his head with a bitter smile. The sound of the zither could indeed help him comprehend heaven and earth. However, there was also a troublesome matter. This was because his fragment of the law of fire had reached an extremely terrifying level. It was about to become a true law. Previously, it had almost attracted a heavenly tribulation. In other words, Lin Xian was about to break through. If not for the dark red divine dragon using the great dragon sword soul to set up a formation and forcefully suppress it, he would have broken through long ago. Now that he heard it, his fragment of the law of fire became uneasy again. It scared Lin Xian so much that he quickly cut off the connection and turned to comprehend other laws. The fairy had left. What a pity. After listening for a short while, I felt that I had a new understanding of heaven and earth laws. If I could listen to it for a long time, my cultivation and comprehension would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Indeed, it was no wonder that the prodigies of the Sky Qing Palace were so respected. There was a certain logic to it. A few other prodigies looked envious. They really wanted to marry a prodigy of the Sky Qing Palace as their wife. That way they could listen to the zither music every day. Stop dreaming. Even if someone from the Sky Qing Palace wanted to marry someone, it would be a peerless expert. We probably have no hope. Many people shook their heads and sighed. Let's go. The Vermilion Bird List competition will begin in a few days. Moreover, I seem to have gained some insights just now. Yes, I also need to go back and cultivate in seclusion for a few days. Who knows, I might be able to increase my cultivation temporarily. These people all stood up. Chapter 3296. The two of them had gained a lot of enlightenment this time, especially the dark red divine dragon, who was even more excited. He had let go of his mind and was trying to gain enlightenment. However, at the same time, the void outside began to tremble violently as if it was boiling. A terrifying pressure pressed down from the sky. Initially, the people around the Sunset Pavilion were trembling and many of them were kneeling on the ground. Damn it, what's happening? They looked up. The sky was filled with countless experts descending from the sky. Strong cultivators and many strong cultivators, as well as demonic beasts. They saw the powerful figures descending from the sky while riding on beasts. Some of them were stepping on chariots while others were descending from the sky. Every one of them was powerful. They were cold and murderous. Obviously they were all experienced fighters. The leader was a tall young man with a cold expression. What? It's him? Jianghu. He's the one who was beaten up. Many people were shocked. At the same time, they knew that Jianghu was here for revenge. Moreover, he was here with a group of powerful figures. This group of people arrived in a grandiose manner, blocking the Sunset Pavilion. At the same time, the elites who came out of the Sunset Pavilion were also stunned. Then they glanced behind and revealed a look of anticipation. It seems that there's going to be a good show. They dodged to the side and crossed their arms. Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon frowned. In particular, Lin Xian had a cold look in his eyes. He looked up at the sky. It seems that letting you go was a wrong choice. Indeed, you made a wrong choice. Unfortunately, you let me go. This time I won't let you go. I'll make you wish you were dead. Jianghu, who was in front, sneered with a hideous expression. So what if the other party is powerful? This time I've brought a large number of powerful figures. Can't I defeat the two of them? Men, take this kid down. I'll tear him into pieces. Jianghu put his hands behind his back and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Buzz. At this moment a figure made a move. It was an old man who moved like a ghost. He tore through the void in an instant and arrived in front of Lin Xian. A large hand was clasping Lin Xian's head. That hand contained an extremely terrifying law fragment. The law of earth was incomparably heavy. It flickered in the old man's palm like a giant mountain that could crush everything. In an instant it enveloped Lin Xian. Around them, the onlookers retreated frantically. At the same time they exclaimed, "It's over, that brat is dead for sure." Of all people to offend, he had to offend young Master Yun. Even 100 lives would not be enough to save him. Lin Xian's eyes exploded with a cold light. He raised his golden hand and released the laws of metal. With a palm strike, the thick earth formed by the law of earth was directly pierced through. That wasn't all. The slap landed on the old man's face and sent him flying. Bah! The crisp sound of a slap rang out. The half-step Saint Elder spun in the air for more than 300 times before flying backward. Half of his face was rotten and badly mangled. "Damn it, I'm going to kill you!" The half-step saint roared. With a frenzied roar and the law of earth, he moved quickly and rolled. The shadow of a huge mountain circled around him. Tens of thousands of mountains descended. Countless shadows of mountains, each of which was incomparably heavy, descended wildly. He wanted to kill Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian dodged calmly. He raised his golden hand and slapped forward again. Another crisp sound of a slap rang out. This time, the half-step saint's head was completely smashed into pieces. At the same time, Lin Xian's eyes flashed with a cold light. He quickly charged towards Jianghu. Jianghu was scared out of his wits when he saw that. He quickly retreated and shouted at the same time, "Stop him! Kill him for me!" Hearing Jianghu's order, the surrounding people all moved out. Otto was the first to move. His fists were like dragons that directly exploded a part of the world. Not only that, two more figures appeared beside him. Ayer and Asan were his two brothers. They were also two half-step saints. The three of them together were really terrifying. The three brothers' methods were very strange. When the three of them worked together, it was as if they had 3 heads and 6 arms. Lin Xian faced the three of them. He crossed his arms and the law of earth quickly operated in his hands. Then he used the great dragon sword soul to form a huge cauldron. It stood tall like a divine cauldron and threw it forward. Boom. The law that Lin Xian had comprehended was very powerful. The law of earth was much stronger than the previous half-step saints. In addition, the divine ability of the great dragon sword soul was really terrifying to the extreme. Therefore, when the divine cauldron was thrown out, the world instantly shattered. The surrounding people were all blown away. Not good. The three brothers' expressions changed drastically. Countless cracks appeared on their bodies in an instant. Retreat quickly. The power was too terrifying. The three of them wanted to escape, but the area covered by the divine cauldron was too large. Although it was heavy, the speed of its descent was very fast. In an instant it enveloped the three of them. The three of them gritted their teeth and raised their hands to the sky, trying to block the descent of the divine cauldron. However, Lin Xian waved his hand and the divine cauldron instantly descended again. With a boom, the three of them were blasted into a bloody mist. The three of them screamed. These three half-step saints could not die in a short time, but they could not break free either. They were firmly suppressed by the divine cauldron. Lin Xian turned his head and stared at Yunhe. Yunhe walked forward again. "Damn it, what are you all standing there for? Let's go." Yunhe screamed like a madman. He realized that Lin Xian's gaze was too terrifying. It was as if it was going to pierce through him. At the same time, he was even more shocked. Three half-step saints were easily suppressed by the other party. Who was this person? However, the surrounding people were a little hesitant. To be honest, Lin Xian's previous methods were too terrifying. He had directly suppressed them. This showed that the other party was definitely a strong person. He was also a top existence among the half-step saints. Perhaps the other party was one of the favorites this time? However, they also knew Yunhe's identity. This was especially true for his uncle, who was a saint. A living saint. He was more terrifying than any elite. Therefore, at this moment when they heard Yunhe's order, they could only sigh and attack. The six of them joined forces. 6 half-step saints. This shocking scene was extremely shocking. Perhaps even a peerless elite would not be able to stop them. Lin Xian's face was cold. He really did not take the 6 half-step saints seriously. One had to know that he was only one step away from becoming a saint. His true strength was definitely not inferior to a saint's. He was confident that he could kill even a saint today. Not to mention these 6 half-step saints. However, at this moment, the dark red divine dragon flew up. "Let's attack together. In order to prevent you from using all your strength." Okay. Lin Xian nodded and did not refuse. This was not good. Seeing another person rushing up, the 6 half-step saints' expressions changed and they quickly moved. Chapter 3297. Swoosh. They knew that they had to get rid of the enemy in front of them first. Otherwise, they would be in great danger if they were ambushed at any time. The power of the 6 half-saints made everyone tremble and their scalps tingle. However, Lin Xian was not afraid at all. Not to mention they were merely 6 half-saints. A cold light appeared in his eyes, and the law of water surged out, turning into a supreme wave that rushed forward. Did he scatter the 6 half-saints in an instant? Oh no, what a terrifying law of water. They were surprised. They did not expect the other party to be so terrifying that their formation was scattered in an instant. At that moment, the dark red dragon rushed up, opened its mouth, and spat out thunder that filled the sky, instantly enveloping the three of them. The other three were once again targeted by Lin Xian. Lin Xian used the law of water this time, and the endless blue fragments condensed together, condensing into a figure in the endless waves. The figure was very hazy, but the aura was incomparably terrifying. As soon as it appeared, it was like a god that suppressed the surroundings. The 3 half-saints trembled and they could not move at all. Buzz. At that moment, a bell appeared between the eyebrows of one of them. It shook quickly and the sound of the bell woke them up. In the next moment, they bit the tip of their tongues to maintain their consciousness and roared crazily. Don't be surrounded by him. The 3 of them attacked and terrifying supernatural powers surged, but they were completely engulfed in front of the sea. The sea seemed to be endless and it swallowed everything. There was no energy transmitted to Lin Xian at all. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He stretched out his hands and clenched them hard. The binding of the sea. Suddenly, the sea in front of him surged, and an invisible pressure crushed the bodies of the 2 half-saints, turning them into a bloody mist. The 3 screams were heard, and then they were extremely miserable and restored to their original state. However, they were trapped by the monstrous sea water. Who else is there? Call them out. Lin Xian said coldly. Yunhe's scalp went numb. Who else did he have? He had brought 10 half-saints with him this time. How powerful was their lineup? They even dared to challenge the saints. But now they were easily suppressed by someone else. A kind of fear rose in his heart. He was now very regretful. Why did he provoke this demon? At the same time he was extremely shocked. Who was the other party? Why was the other party so powerful? This was already beyond the capabilities of ordinary half-saints. In fact, not even the strongest half-saints were capable of such a feat. Could it be that he was a saint? He thought of a possibility, but he quickly shook his head. That was impossible. The other party had clearly used a law fragment and not a true law. This meant that the other party was not a true saint. The others were also discussing spiritedly. The scene before them had happened too quickly. Lin Xian was able to suppress more than one half-saint with just a lift of his hand. Now the other party had injured one of them, suppressed 6 of them, and the other 3 had been suppressed by their companions. This method was heaven-defying. Previously they had thought that Lin Xian and the others were doomed. But now it seemed to them that Yunhe had kicked an iron plate. If no one comes to help you, then I'll send you to hell. A cold killing intent appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. To be honest, he didn't want to cause any trouble on planet Suzaku just yet. However, he wanted to keep a low profile, but someone just had to send himself to death. He had spared the other party's life, but the other party had brought 10 half-saints to kill him. If he had been a bit weaker, he would have been killed and would have suffered a fate worse than death. How could he let the other party go? There was no one around Yunhe anymore. When he saw Lin Xian walk over, he screamed like a madman. His gaze swept the surroundings as his voice rang out. Who will help me? Help me kill him. I'll ask my uncle to accept him as a disciple. Many people were shocked when they heard this. Yunhe's uncle was a saint. If one was accepted as a disciple by a saint, then one's comprehension of heaven and earth would increase by leaps and bounds. To be honest, many people were tempted, but when they saw the 6 half-saints being suppressed, their hearts turned cold. No one stepped forward. Instead they took a few steps back. Seeing this, Yunhe's heart sank a bit. At the same time he screamed again, "Don't kill him, save me. If you can save my life, then you will be my Yun family's benefactor. My Yun family will definitely treat you well. I promise that my Yun family will give you a true sacred artifact." What? A true sacred artifact? Everyone's pupils shrank. Those experts also sucked in a breath of cold air. To be honest, a sacred artifact was an extremely terrifying existence, far surpassing a half-saint artifact. In fact, not every saint had a sacred artifact, because the materials used to make a sacred artifact were too precious. They were very difficult to find, and it was not easy to refine a sacred artifact. If a sacred artifact was obtained, the strength of a saint would increase exponentially, even for half-saints like them. There were also great benefits. Their combat strength would also increase greatly. Therefore many people were tempted, but still no one dared to make a move. However, with such a great reward, someone still stepped forward. Is what you said true? At this moment a voice sounded. Yunhe was overjoyed when he heard this. It's true, I swear on my life. As long as you save me, my Yun family will definitely give you a sacred artifact. If I violate it, I will be struck by lightning. Alright, I can save your life. A figure walked out of the cave. It was a man dressed in white. He held a folding fan and looked like a middle-aged scholar. He was very polite. As soon as he appeared, he moved as fast as lightning and instantly appeared in front of Yunhe. I'll save his life. What? Did someone really make a move? Who was this person? How dare he be so arrogant? Did he think that he was more terrifying than 6 half-saints joining forces? Discussions sounded one after another. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. Save him? Do you know what the consequences of going against me are? Isn't it just being suppressed? The middle-aged man sneered. However, Lin Xian shook his head. You're wrong. The consequences of going against me is death. When he said that, a hint of killing intent burst out from his eyes. The 9 heavens and 10 lands were trembling. Everyone held their breaths, and Yunhe was so scared that he almost wet his pants. The middle-aged scholar's pupils constricted, but soon his face darkened. This kid is too arrogant. I know you're very strong and can suppress many half-saints, but there's a big difference between suppressing a half-saint and killing a half-saint. Moreover, I'm not an ordinary half-saint. Is that so? I'd like to see what ability you have to protect him in front of me. Lin Xian took a step forward, and a terrifying aura surged forward. Endless seawater appeared around them, covering the sky and the earth, completely enveloping the middle-aged scholar and Yunhe. The terrifying waves turned into countless blue sword shadows. Chapter 3298. Save me. Yunhe tried his best to resist, but he was no match for Lin Xian. Soon the laws that he cast were pierced. At that moment the middle-aged scholar came alive. He shouted coldly, closed the folding fan in his hand, and waved his left hand in the air. Suddenly, a chessboard appeared in his hand. It was a chessboard with black and white chess pieces that shone with a demonic light. What's that? Is it a game of chess? Many people discussed, but some of them were shocked and screamed. It's the heaven-crippling chessboard game. It's the heaven-crippling chessboard game. What's the heaven-crippling chessboard game? Many people became even more puzzled. However, the faces of some of the older generation experts turned extremely ugly. The heaven-crippling chessboard game was passed down from ancient times. It was an extremely terrifying array formation that was created by a sage. The array formation was extremely terrifying and mysterious. According to ancient legends, two powerful sages were playing chess when they suddenly came up with an idea and used chess pieces to form an array formation. The two of them used chess pieces as an array formation and fought for 800 years, but in the end they were evenly matched. They left, but the chessboard that they played on turned into a peerless killing array. After countless powerhouses studied it, they named the chessboard heaven-crippling chessboard game. Since then the array formation had been passed down. I can't believe there's such a thing. Many people gasped when they heard that. Is it a sage's array formation? No wonder the middle-aged scholar dares to stand up for me. Kid, be careful. I've heard of this array formation before. It's not simple. I didn't expect to see it with my own eyes. The dark red divine dragon transmitted his voice. Lin Xian nodded. It was all right. If a true saint were to perform the heaven-crippled chessboard game, it might be troublesome. But what about the other party? He didn't care. Well, I'll see how terrifying the legendary heaven-crippling chessboard game is. Lin Xian stretched out his palm and formed 5 mountains. Each of his 5 fingers was extremely heavy, crushing everything in front of him. The middle-aged scholar snorted coldly, and the chessboard in his hand kept expanding until it shrouded the world. In the next moment, Lin Xian and Yunhe were all shrouded. Among them, Yunhe was surrounded by 4 chess pieces. They transformed into terrifying black and white qi, forming a powerful defense that enveloped him. The middle-aged scholar floated in the void, controlling the entire chessboard. Lin Xian, on the other hand, came to the chessboard. There were black and white flags around him, flickering with terrifying light. The aura circulating on it was extremely dreadful. A semi-sage expert might die here if they weren't careful. A black ghost stone charged at him. It was like a black sun trying to crush him completely. Lin Xian coldly snorted. He clenched his hand into a fist, which was covered in flames. He punched out, and it was as if he had turned into a golden crow. It burned fiercely and shattered the black go piece. The black chess piece was shattered into pieces. However, they soon fused into the formation. At this moment, 2 more white ghost stones shot over. They circled around each other like a pair of dragon scissors, wanting to cut Lin Xian in half. Get lost. Lin Xian swept out with his right leg like a coiling dragon. He flew out with terrifying laws of earth. With one kick he shattered the 2 white ghost stones. The 2 white ghost stones turned into white mist and disappeared again. However, Lin Xian sensed that the formation's power did not weaken. It looked like his attack was ineffective. You have some strength. However, you don't understand the genius chessboard at all. Now I'll show you how terrifying the heaven-crippling chessboard is. Floating in the air, the middle-aged scholar sneered. He waved his hand and a sharp light burst out from his eyes. Immediately, the 13 black and white ghost stones around Lin Xian spun quickly, turning into a huge dragon that covered the entire area. The 13 black and white ghost stones surged around continuously, forming a peerless killing intent. How terrifying. Outside the formation, the expressions of those people changed as they retreated frantically. The dark red dragon frowned as well. What a strange formation. It circled the formation and kept moving around, looking for a flaw in it. That way, it could immediately make a move to break the formation when it was in danger. The heaven-crippling chessboard? Not bad. Unfortunately, you're too weak. A cold voice came from within the formation. In the next moment, a sharp sword light lit up in the air. The 9 heavens and 10 earths were trembling. Wherever this sword passed, everything was destroyed. That was the power of the law of annihilation. After the sword slashed out, a huge black hole appeared in the heaven-crippling chessboard. How is this possible? The middle-aged scholar was stunned. He did not expect his opponent to break his heaven-crippling chessboard with such a forceful method. That was simply unbelievable. The surrounding people were even more stunned. Damn it! I don't believe it. The middle-aged scholar gritted his teeth and roared. A look of madness appeared in his eyes. The area around him turned into nothingness. With a wave of his finger, the heaven-crippling chessboard exploded again. This time it was not just 13 lights. Instead, there were hundreds and thousands of lights. The black and white ghost stones in the entire heaven-crippling chessboard shook violently. A terrifying and destructive force burst out, wanting to destroy everything. The surrounding cultivators' expressions changed. Damn it! This person is crazy. He wants to destroy everything. Run quickly. They ran away in a frenzy. Oh no! The dark red divine dragon's expression changed. Lin Xian's expression darkened as well. He was also an expert in formations. Naturally, he knew what the other party was trying to do. The other party wanted to use the formation to destroy everything, including Yun He. The middle-aged scholar was probably the only one who could survive. Is he trying to kill me? If that's the case, don't blame me. He sensed that there was a burst of cold light. He activated his heavenly secret divine eyes. At the same time, a sharp sword light circled around his hand. The law of fire surged out. The flaming sword chi broke through everything. Lin Xian's speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he destroyed the surrounding aura and slashed the middle-aged scholar's body apart. The middle-aged scholar screamed like a madman. His opponent's strength had increased again. Damn it! Did he not use his full strength earlier? His opponent's casual attack had broken his heaven-crippling chessboard. Thinking of that, the middle-aged man screamed and turned to run. Do you think you can run? Lin Xian's eyes were cold and merciless. Since the other party wanted to kill him with such a powerful move, how could he show mercy? He clasped his hand and grabbed the other party's head. He activated his eye technique and immediately searched his soul. Soon the soul search was completed. Lin Xian waved his hand and destroyed the other party's soul. After taking the other party's storage ring, Lin Xian turned to stare at Yun He. At that moment, the heaven-crippling chessboard was shaking violently. However, it dissipated before it exploded. Buzz. Clang. A chessboard fell from the sky with a clang. The dark red divine dragon grabbed it and put it away. Everyone's attention was attracted by the heaven-crippling chessboard. That was a treasure. However, it seemed that the other party had taken it away. However, at that moment their gazes turned again. That was because Yun He was screaming miserably. Chapter 3299. Yun He's miserable cries made one's scalp tingle. You dare to kill me? I'm from the Yun family. If you kill me, my brother and uncle won't let you go. He screamed like a madman. Really? Lin Xian sneered and waved his hand. The 10,000 sword chi became even crazier. Stop. Please spare me. I was wrong. I apologize to you. I'll kowtow to you as long as you let me go. Yun He was rolling in the sky. The pain made him hover between life and death. Oh, kowtow to him as an apology? Sure. Lin Xian waved his hand. Go ahead. However, even if you kowtow to him as an apology, I'll still send you to hell. The last time he let him go, he left and brought 10 half-saints to kill him. Therefore this time Lin Xian would definitely not let him go. Yun He was extremely regretful. Why did he provoke him? He was a person who was not afraid of the Yun family at all. He realized that he was going to die today. Thinking of this, Yun He's face became extremely desperate. However, at this moment, a cold voice resounded between heaven and earth. How dare you attack a member of the Yun family? How dare you? The voice turned into swords of sound waves and swept toward Lin Xian. The void was pierced and the entire space was trembling. Lin Xian's figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. A terrifying scene appeared in front of him. Countless translucent sword chi seemed to cut heaven and earth in half, isolating the crowd. Oh God, someone attacked again. The surrounding martial artists were extremely shocked. Previously, Lin Xian killed the middle-aged scholar and broke the heavenly chessboard game, which made them extremely terrified. Later, Lin Xian attacked and wanted to kill Yun He, which made them pee their pants. These people had not recovered from the shock and did not expect someone else to come. Moreover, the person who came this time seemed to be even more terrifying. This sword chi, could it be that the cloud returning sword was here? What? The cloud returning sword? You mean Yun Tian? Many people were extremely shocked. Looking at this sword chi, it should be right. Moreover, from the other party's words, The other party was also a member of the Yun family. The only person in the Yun family who possessed such a biting cold sword energy was definitely Yun Tian. Thinking of this, everyone was shocked. Now that Yun Tian had come, things were probably going to change. Sure enough, Yun He was screaming like a madman in front of him. "Brother, is that you? Brother, save me. Kill him. I must kill him. Tear him to shreds. Avenge me." Umph. A cold voice sounded. In the next moment, a person descended from the sky. He was wearing white clouds, his black hair fluttering in the wind. As soon as he landed, he gave off a piercing aura and looked coldly at Yun He. "How dare you embarrass the Yun family like this? After you go back, you will go into seclusion for 10 years and will not be allowed to come out." Yes. Yun He trembled in fear, but at the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief because he knew that he was saved. Now that his brother was here, no one would dare to lay a hand on him. Not even Yin Nantian could do that. The person in front was Gue Yun Jian. Yun Tian's gaze shifted away from Yun He and landed in front of him, staring at Lin Xian. "You actually dare to lay a hand on my Yun family? Now kneel down and accept your death." Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. "He's too strong. Is this Gue Yun Jian?" Lin Xian was also sizing him up. "This is his brother? He's indeed very strong. As expected of a top genius, but it's still not enough." As if seeing the contempt in Lin Xian's eyes, Yun Tian snorted coldly. "Ignorant guy, you actually dare to be arrogant in front of me? Fine, I'll show you what a peerless genius is today." As soon as he finished speaking, Yun Tian's body disappeared. In the next moment he charged over with countless piercing cold sword chi. These were all white sword chi that carried the law of clouds. It was abnormally terrifying and incomparably strange. In an instant Lin Xian was completely entangled. Cloud sword thousand slaughter. Between heaven and earth, countless clouds descended and disappeared. These clouds were all absolute killing sword chi, completely enveloping Lin Xian. The surrounding people retreated like crazy. At the same time they cried out in surprise. He appeared. Gue Yun Jian. Everyone opened their eyes wide. In their view Lin Xian was strong. But compared to Yun Tian he was probably much weaker. Perhaps he was not Yun Tian's match at all. The dark red divine dragon also retreated far away. He narrowed his eyes, a hint of a cold smile at the corners of his mouth. "Kid, let these people see your true strength." Lin Xian was enveloped by the cloud sword. His eyes flickered. He also had a hint of a cold smile. Competing in sword skills? He took a deep breath. The sword chi in his body surged out. A terrifying and berserk flame sword chi gushed out from his body, sweeping out in all directions. It had the intention of sweeping the world. Boom, boom. At this time the cloud sword exploded with countless clouds, flickering with absolute killing intent. It collided with Lin Xian's body, emitting a shocking sound. This was an absolute kill. The front completely turned into nothingness. Hee, this kid is definitely dead. Yun He looked at this scene and sneered malevolently. The others felt their scalps go numb. Yun Tian was too strong. He used an absolute ability the moment he attacked. They reckoned that the other party might really be killed in one move. When all the clouds rose into the air and scattered, everyone widened their eyes. Even Yun Tian frowned. Because he discovered that the figure in front of him was not dead. Instead he was wrapped in a ball of fiery red sword light. How is it possible? He's not dead. Yun He screamed like crazy. Whoosh. Yun Tian attacked again. It was as if he had merged into the clouds. His figure could not be seen at all. They could only feel that the power of the cloud sword was even more terrifying. Yet another boundless cloud of swords came, intending to pierce through Lin Xian. At this time Lin Xian moved. His eyes exploded with a bright light. Extremely terrifying flame sword chi surged out from his body. Boom. The fiery red sword, with a berserk and destructive aura, ruthlessly slashed on the cloud sword. It was useless. Yun Tian sneered. "My cloud is ethereal and formless. You can't destroy it." It was indeed so. The law he comprehended was the cloud. So what if it was cut apart with a sword? At most it would turn from one cloud into two clouds. But it would not disappear. But soon he screamed. How was this possible? He discovered that his cloud sword had actually been destroyed. This made him terrified, shocked, and in disbelief. How was this possible? The other party could actually destroy his Jian Qi. This was something that had never happened before. At this time, Lin Xian had already arrived in front of him. The two of them were less than half a meter apart. The laws on the two of them kept colliding, tearing out countless large cracks. At this time Lin Xian's voice sounded. You actually dare to compete with me in sword technique? The flame sword in his hand exploded again. It was as if it had turned into a monstrous qilin. It roared at the sky, crushing all the clouds in the sky. Boom. Fire sword qilin. This was not a law divine ability. It was just a divine ability evolved from the great dragon sword soul. However, the power was also very terrifying. Even a top half-step Saint could not block it. As expected, Yun Tian's pupils constricted. He waved his hands, forming a white cloud armor. At the same time, the white clouds in front of him drooped down like a curtain. Boom. With a shocking strike, Yun Tian was sent flying. The white clouds in front of him shattered, and the armor on his body was also torn into pieces. Chapter 3300. In the next moment, his body suddenly disappeared and reappeared in another direction, completely shaking off the flames. However, his face was completely gloomy. This scene happened very quickly. In the blink of an eye, Yun Tian was sent flying. The surrounding people cried out in alarm. Many of them were scared silly. What was going on? It seemed that Yun Tian had been beaten back. Oh heavens, did Yun Tian suffer a loss at the opponent's hands? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they reached this conclusion. They could not imagine it. That was the cloud returning sword. Yun He's body was also trembling, and fear rose from the bottom of his heart. However, he still roared crazily. Impossible, how could my brother be defeated? My brother just didn't use his full strength. That must be it. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. You dare to use sword techniques in front of me with such little strength? To be honest, it was a little disappointing. Kid, don't be arrogant. Yun Tian snorted coldly. His expression was incomparably cold. He had never suffered a loss at the hands of a young person. This time his target was Yan Nantian. In his opinion, with his strength he could fight Yan Nantian. However, he did not expect to meet a difficult person before the Vermilion Birdless tournament had even begun. Who was this person? Who are you? Zhao Wuliang? Long Chaotian? Or someone else? None of them. You don't deserve to know my name. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. His eyes were filled with arrogance. You're courting death. Kid, I was just testing the waters just now. Now you've made me want to kill you. The cloud returning sword was unsheathed. With a clang, the invisible cloud law circled around. In the next moment, a piercing sound rang out like thunder. A white light flashed and a dazzling black crack appeared in front of him. Heavens, it was cut open. Unsheathing. Many powerhouses of the older generation exclaimed. This kind of sword unsheathing technique was a very common ability. It was a condensed sword intent and power that exploded in an instant. Of course, the more common the ability, the more difficult it was to cultivate it to a high level. Moreover, Yun Tian's sword unsheathing technique had surpassed ordinary. This was the cloud returning sword unsheathing technique. It was even more ethereal and strange. Clang. Lin Xian's body was struck by a white cloud long sword. In the next moment, his body was sent flying. Hit. Yun He was so excited that he was trembling. The others also gasped. Quite a few people shook their heads. The sword was drawn too quickly, and with the addition of the law of clouds, almost no one could dodge it. That brat should have been split into two halves. Let's see how arrogant he can be. How strong is cloud returning sword? Previously he was only testing the waters. Now that he had revealed his true strength, how could that brat possibly withstand it? Yun Tian also revealed a cold smile. The light turned into a white divine lamp that looked into the distance. Soon he was stunned. How could this be? His heart was filled with astonishment as he could not believe his eyes. From afar, a figure appeared in a flash. It was Lin Xian. Lin Xian was unscathed. He shook his body and nodded slightly. Not bad, this move is much stronger than before. Looks like you do have some talent. Lin Xian's words were like an elder commenting on a junior. This tone of voice made Yun Tian very unhappy. However, the others were already scared silly. Such a terrifying sword chi could split a half-saint city in half. But the other party was unscathed? What kind of physique was that? The other party was definitely a powerhouse. And he should be very famous. It's a pity that we can't see his true face. To be able to block the white cloud sword, his physique is definitely famous. I wonder what kind of physique it is. If not for the Nine Suns' successor perishing together with the great demon a few years ago, I would have suspected that he was the Nine Suns' successor. Impossible, the Nine Suns' successor can no longer exist in this world. He might have another physique. I've heard that the sacred physique also seems to have such a strong physique, not inferior to the Nine Suns' divine physique. Yes, there is also the supreme combat physique, which is also very strong and has astonishing combat strength. Damn brat, who the hell are you? Yun Tian shouted angrily again. Lin Xian did not answer. Instead, he clenched his fists as if he was drawing a sword. Let me show you what the true sword drawing technique is. What, this guy is also going to use the sword drawing technique. Everyone was still guessing Lin Xian's identity, but at this moment, they were attracted by Lin Xian's words. Everyone's eyes were all on Lin Xian. In the next moment they shivered. It was too strange. The other party only made a sword-drawing gesture, but their bodies actually trembled uncontrollably. A few of the older generation figures were terrified. The surrounding people were all scared out of their wits. Many half-saints swallowed their saliva frantically. This aura, could it be that the other party was a peerless swordsman? They widened their eyes, and Yun He had long collapsed to the ground in fear. Yun Tian's expression was also solemn. Not good, it's too dangerous. The other party's action made him vigilant, as if there was a fatal crisis. Who was this person? He had no time to think too much now. He could only roar angrily and use the Cloud Law fragment to the extreme. I want to see what's so magical about your sword drawing technique. Yun Tian gritted his teeth. He did not believe that the other party's sword technique could really defeat him. The sword drawing technique was about explosiveness, not just speed. Your speed just now was indeed very fast. After fusing with the Cloud Law, it was strange and ethereal. Ordinary people would not be able to dodge it all. Unfortunately, you're still wrong. The true power of the sword drawing technique was explosiveness. Now I'll show you what the true sword drawing technique is. Lin Xian's voice sounded. Boom. In the next moment, a biting cold aura burst out. A terrifying sound rang out. There was no sword light in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. No one could see any sword light at all. However, the void in front of them was constantly being annihilated and shattered. A sword to break the 9 heavens? The surrounding people were stunned. Some of the semi-sage level experts were also trembling. Their eyes were wide open. This was the true sword drawing technique. They indeed did not feel the sword light, but the terrifying explosive force completely engulfed everything in front of them. Not good. Yun Tian's pupils shrank. He knew that he had underestimated the other party. This force was too strong and could threaten him. He wanted to escape, but he realized that it was too late. The other party's sword drawing technique was really different from his. He pursued speed to the extreme, but the other party pursued explosiveness. The other party had achieved this. The surrounding space was shattered. His violent power tore everything apart. No matter where he hid, he would still be attacked. He could only do his best to resist. Cloud Law, Cloud Body. Chapter 3301. Facing the violent power, he chose to turn his body incorporeal to avoid it. Boom. The space in front of him was completely shattered. A violent explosion sounded as if heaven and earth were being destroyed. A miserable cry came from inside. It was Yun He's. Yun He was also enveloped by this sword. Yun He couldn't dodge it all and turned into nothingness. Even his soul was swallowed by this violent power. After a long time, the shattered void in front of him gradually healed. He had already been destroyed in body and soul and couldn't be found at all. Everyone already knew about this. Their gazes were looking for Yun Tian. Where was Yun Tian? Why did he disappear too? Could it be that he dodged it? He even said that his body and soul were also destroyed? They gasped as they thought of a possibility. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and swept his gaze in all directions. Golden light flickered in his eyes. Soon, he stared in a direction and revealed a look of surprise. To be able to dodge it, one had to admit that he was indeed quite strong. Everyone looked in the direction Lin Xian was looking at. In the next moment they saw a figure appear in the void. It was Yun Tian. However, the current Yun Tian was illusory, as if he had turned into a cloud. However, he was still attacked. Lin Xian's destructive power was enough to destroy everything. Even if it was a cloud, it could still injure it. Therefore Yun Tian was severely injured. Absorbing the power of heaven and earth and evolving the power of laws, his body reappeared and his face was gloomy. If one looked carefully, they would discover that his body was still trembling slightly. He glanced at the space that had turned into nothingness. Immediately, killing intent spread out. The other party had killed Yun He. Yun He was his younger brother. Now that he was killed in front of everyone, Yun Tian was furious. With a long roar, heaven and earth trembled. An extremely terrifying killing intent exuded from his body. How dare you kill my younger brother? You will die without a doubt. Originally, he had prepared some ultimate moves to use against Yan Nantian at the Vermilion Bird List competition. However, since you are courting death, I will fulfill your wish now. Yun Tian soared into the sky, his voice incomparably cold. The others were shocked. What? Yun Tian was actually targeting Yan Nantian this time. Then his ultimate move must be very terrifying. Bus. Yun Tian stood in the clouds, incomparably ethereal. He pulled out a long sword. This wasn't a sword of laws, but a true half-step saint artifact. The sword light was like water, blue, flickering with cold light. Did he use his weapon? In that case, the power of the sword chi could be increased. However, this was not the end. What shocked everyone was that after Yun Tian pulled out the blue sword, he pulled out another sword. A white sword. Dual swords. Everyone was shocked. Yun Tian was holding two swords with both hands. Both of them were half-saint weapons. His aura was also rising. The blue sky was filled with white clouds. At this moment, Yun Tian seemed to have turned into the king of the sky, looking down on all living things. After cultivating for 132 years, I finally created my own divine ability, the Boundless Sky Sword. Today I will use you as a sacrifice to my divine sword. His cold voice rang out. When the others heard it, they were all stunned. The people of the older generation were also in disbelief. What did he say? He had created his own divine ability. Heavens, he actually created his own divine ability. This brat's talent was too terrifying. These people were all stunned. They knew that Yun Tian was very famous. He had traveled on the ancient path of the stars for 132 years and was very powerful. He was probably not far from becoming a sage. But they did not expect that he could create his own divine ability now. Many people swallowed their saliva. Creating one's own divine ability was not something an ordinary sage could do. It required great talent and a heaven-defying understanding of laws to be able to create one's own divine ability. They did not expect Yun Tian to be able to create his own divine ability at such a young age. What he created was definitely a law divine ability. Its power was boundless. No one among the half-saints would be able to block it. They thought that Yun Tian had lost this battle, but they did not expect Yun Tian to have such a killer move. No wonder he dared to use such a divine ability to fight Yan Nantian. Creating his own divine ability? Lin Xian was also surprised. Then he smiled. He had also created his own divine ability. Moreover, he had created 4 great divine abilities. If he said it out loud, it would probably scare the surrounding people to death. However, it was also good. He wanted to see if the other party's self-created divine ability was stronger than his. Creating his own divine ability? I'm looking forward to it. Then show it. Lin Xian raised his head and said indifferently. You will see. Yun Tian's voice was cold. He did not speak anymore. In his hands, the 2 treasured swords overlapped and exploded with an incomparable light. 2 terrifying sword lights swept through the 9 heavens and enveloped the entire sky. Above the 9 heavens, sword chi circled around, pressing down on everyone until they could not breathe. In the next moment, a cold voice came from the sky. Heavenly boundless kill. The 2 swords formed a cross and instantly charged over. Is that all? Lin Xian looked at the figure that was charging over and frowned. The others were also puzzled, but they soon understood. They understood what the heavenly boundless kill meant. In the next moment, countless figures of Yun Tian appeared in the sky. Each of them held 2 swords in their hands and charged over quickly. Each of them was incomparably real. It was really a killing move. There was no way to escape. One could only resist it. The blue and white light flickered, and it really looked as if a part of the sky was pressing down. Moreover, this was a law divine ability. Its power was much stronger than ordinary divine abilities. It was indeed a self-created divine ability. Many people trembled. Their eyes were like rainbows as they stared straight ahead. They did not know how that kid was going to resist. Lin Xian nodded slightly. He knew that a self-created divine ability could not be so weak. Now it was a little interesting. Take my self-created divine ability, Annihilation Fire Lotus. Lin Xian's voice was not loud, and the people around him did not hear it clearly. However, they felt it. They felt a fiery red flame fly out from the blue and white light. Then it burned fiercely. The fiery lotus rose into the air with the power to destroy everything. What divine ability was that? Many people's pupils constricted. They felt as if they were about to be swallowed by the fire lotus. The 2 self-created divine abilities finally collided in the air. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Terrifying energy swept through everything. At this moment, all the buildings in the city were enveloped by the array formation. It was densely packed and some places even sank directly into the ground. As for the others, they were sent flying by a terrifying force. Many of them were sent flying millions of miles away while coughing up blood. In front of them it had turned into chaotic energy. The eternal light could not be seen at all. Yun Tian and Lin Xian's figures were also swallowed by this energy. It was as if endless time had passed. Everyone was far away and did not dare to come over. They were bewildered. What was going on in front? After a while, seeing the destructive energy in front of them weaken, they dared to go forward. When they flew into the city, they sucked in a breath of cold air. There were large cracks everywhere in the sky and on the ground. It was too terrifying. The remnant energy terrified them. Chapter 3302. It was a figure covered in gold like the sun. However, in the next moment their eyes blurred. The sunlight that filled the sky disappeared, and Lin Xian's figure appeared. It was that kid. That kid was still alive. They discovered that Lin Xian's aura was normal. What about Yun Tian? They searched in all directions and soon they also found it. An illusory figure fell from the white clouds. Yun Tian's body was covered in injuries. Some parts of his body had disappeared. His body was broken, and he fell to the ground and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His expression was very dispirited. It seemed that he had suffered extremely serious injuries, to the point that his life was in danger. At this moment, his eyes were wide open as he stared at Lin Xian. Then he said with difficulty, "It's you, it's actually you. I didn't expect it to be you." As he spoke, he vomited even more blood, and from the looks of it, his soul was about to be extinguished. What was going on? Could it be that Yun Tian knew him? At this moment, everyone was even more curious. Who exactly was Lin Xian? Yun Tian's eyes were filled with fear and a trace of regret. Previously, the collision of their self-created divine abilities had formed a terrifying energy. He had turned his body into a white cloud and completely merged with the void. However, he couldn't block it. Moreover, this time his injuries were even more serious. The other party's annihilation fire lotus was too powerful and destroyed his self-created divine ability. That destructive aura had destroyed most of his life force. At this moment he saw an unimaginable scene. The other party let out a long roar. Amidst the torrent of energy, endless light suddenly burst out. The other party's body turned into a golden sun god. In an instant he recognized it. Nine Yang divine body. That was the divine Nine Yang body. He had seen the recording of the battle between the Nine Yang successor and the great demon lineage. He had seen the terrifying physiques of the two back then. Now that he saw them again, how could he not recognize them? Yun Tian was instantly dumbfounded. He was actually fighting with the divine Nine Yang body. He even wanted to kill the other party. Thinking of this, his face was filled with despair. One had to know that the great demon and the divine Nine Yang body were locked in a fierce battle. In the end, the two of them even perished together. He had also seen that battle. He was not a match for the two of them at all. As expected, he was now seriously injured and on the verge of death. From the looks of it, even though the other party had been slightly affected by the shockwaves, it wasn't a big deal at all. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. Yun Tian roared towards the sky, using all of his strength to let out a furious roar. In the next moment, his eyes lost their luster. His corpse fell to the ground and even his soul dissipated. He was dead. Everyone was stunned. They never thought that Yun Tian would actually be killed. Heavens, this is an earth-shattering earthquake. The Yun family would definitely go berserk. Although the Yun family was furious about Yun He's death, they wouldn't be too crazy about it. However, with Yun Tian dead, that was a different story. Yun Tian could be said to be the most outstanding person in the Yun family's younger generation. His strength was so great that he had already created his own divine ability. It wouldn't be long before he became a saint. He was the future hope of the Yun family. But at this moment, such a peerless genius was actually slain here. The Yun family would definitely go berserk. It was likely that another huge storm was about to arrive. Everyone looked at Lin Xian and swallowed their saliva. Lin Xian's expression was serious. He looked at Yun Tian's corpse and pondered for a while before turning around and leaving. The dark red dragon followed behind him. Everywhere they passed, everyone would make way. No one dared to stop them. Soon Lin Xian and Yun Tian disappeared into the void. Then the entire city went crazy. Everyone went crazy. They quickly spread the news because they knew that a huge storm was about to arrive. Yun Tian was dead. This news quickly spread from Sunset City and instantly spread across planet Suzaku. When the geniuses and experts in the 12 main cities heard this, they were all shocked. What? Yun Tian was dead. That was impossible. Who spread the news? At first, these people didn't believe it. However, more and more news spread. Some people even took Yun Tian's body and left planet Suzaku. When countless people saw this, Yun Tian's eyes lit up. Everyone believed that Yun Tian was really dead. Who was it? Who killed Yun Tian? Everyone crazily asked questions. Soon they learned about what had happened in Sunset City and sucked in a breath of cold air. A mysterious person had killed Yun Tian. In the end, Yun Tian seemed to recognize the person, but aside from Yun Tian, no one else knew who it was. Investigate for me. They had to figure out who was fighting Yun Tian. They had to find out where he came from. Someone roared like crazy. This was not simple. Yun Tian was one of the most popular candidates for the Vermilion Bird ranking competition and was favored by countless people. The other geniuses were also under a lot of pressure. However, Yun Tian had been killed. Didn't that mean that there was an even more terrifying existence? And that other person was most likely here for the Vermilion Bird ranking competition. They had to figure out who it was. At the same time, these geniuses and experts were also testing each other to see if it was someone they knew who had done it. However, they soon tested each other and found that it wasn't someone they knew who had done it. This caused their expressions to darken. It seemed that there was an extremely powerful person, and a person who had never appeared before was about to appear. Cloud returning planet Yun family. The Yun family was an extremely large family and was extremely terrifying. At this moment, a piece of news was sent back to the Yun family, causing them to be incomparably shocked. What? Yun Tian was dead? Yun was also dead? What was going on? The people of the Yun family were incomparably ferocious. They had already ignored Yun He's death, but they couldn't accept Yun Tian's death. In fact, they couldn't believe it. When Yun Tian's corpse was brought back and the people of the Yun family saw it, they finally believed it. Endless roars rang out. Who was it that dared to kill their son? I'm going to tear that person into pieces. Frenzied voices rang out. Countless elders roared crazily. The Yun family patriarch also had a malevolent expression. Go and invite the saint of our family back. The saint they wanted to find was Yun He and Yun Tian's uncle. He was a very young saint with great strength and talent. He was definitely the pillar of the Yun family. As for Yun Tian, he could have become such a pillar. If Yun Tian continued to grow, he would have become a saint. The Yun family would have two great pillars of support. The status of the Yun family would also rise. In fact, if these two saints were to take another step forward, the Yun family would really have reached the top. But now Yun Tian had been killed. They couldn't accept it at all. Chapter 3303. The day of the Vermilion Bird ranking competition was getting closer and closer. However, on this day, a piece of news spread like wildfire across planet Suzaku. A saint had arrived on planet Suzaku and was going to participate in the Vermilion Bird ranking competition. This news was like a clap of thunder that stunned everyone. Heavens, what did you say? A saint is going to participate? That can't be right. A saint is going to compete with us? Many people went crazy. Who is this? It has to be said that everyone participating in the Vermilion Bird ranking competition was half sages, but there was a difference in age. Some were very young and some were very old. However, they were all half sages. Aside from lacking a bit in experience, they could make up for everything else. But now, a saint ninja had jumped out? It couldn't be another rumor, right? Before, people said that a saint was going to participate, but it was only a rumor. No one knew which saint it was. It seemed like this time was about the same. However, some people shook their heads. No, they had already confirmed which saint it was. It was the Yun family's saint. Could the Yun family's saint be Cloud Sky's saint? That's right, it was him. The moment he said that, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air because they knew that a huge commotion had happened in the Yun family. Not long ago, two of the Yun family's geniuses were killed in Sunset City. One of them was Cloud Sword Yun Tian. He was a top genius and one of the favorites to win the competition. Now that someone like him was killed, the Yun family would definitely not let this go. They had thought of many possibilities, but none of them had. A saint was going to participate in the competition. But why? They could have just sent a saint to kill the enemy. Why did they have to participate? No one could understand. On the other side, a tall saint descended on planet Suzaku and was invited away by countless people. The Vermilion Bird Palace sent people to receive him. They wanted to persuade him not to participate. After all, their goal this time was to help Yen Nantian gain some fame. However, Cloud Sky Saint's attitude was very firm. He looked at the Vermilion Bird Palace Master and the elders and said, "I'm participating in this competition to find the person who killed my Yun family's genius." Find the person who killed him? The Vermilion Bird Palace Master and the elders all frowned. They all frowned. The Cloud Sky Saint said coldly, "That's right. You should know that the genius of the Yun clan was killed. I heard the news and rushed over. I asked many people but found that the murderer had disappeared. I don't know what method he used, but I can't touch him at all. Maybe he's hiding now. However, I believe that since he is so powerful and has appeared here, he should be here to participate in the Vermilion Bird Tournament. Therefore, I must participate in the battle. Only in the competition could they find him and recognize him. Don't worry, as long as I kill that opponent, I'll immediately withdraw from the competition. It won't affect you guys." Hearing that, the elders' eyes flickered, but the palace master of the Vermilion Bird Palace nodded. They didn't want to offend a sage for no reason. Furthermore, since the sage had said so, it was unlikely that he would take first place on the Vermilion Bird leaderboard. That way Yen Nantian would not be threatened. "Since you are here, stay in the Vermilion Bird Palace." The palace lord invited Cloud Sky Saint in. At the same time, he instructed the warriors under him to quickly investigate and capture the culprit. When the news spread, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard about it. It turned out that it was true that Cloud Firmament Saint was participating in the battle. However, his goal was not to win the championship. However, this still posed a certain threat to them. Moreover, with Cloud Sky Saint's participation, another group of powerhouses was preparing to participate. Originally, these people didn't want to participate, but now that a sage was participating, it piqued their curiosity. All of a sudden, the Vermilion Bird leaderboard became even more lively and the competition became even more brutal. Those prodigies who were originally confident of getting a higher ranking. They also frowned. Their expressions were solemn. Lin Xian and the Dark Red Dragon left Wuxia City and immediately changed their appearance and aura. They knew that the Yun family might send a sage over. As expected, they received news that Cloud Sky Saint was here. However, the two of them sneered. So what if a sage was here? They probably wouldn't be able to find them in a short time. When they heard that the sage was going to participate in the competition, Lin Xian frowned. "Kid, be careful." The Dark Red Dragon reminded him. Lin Xian snorted coldly. "It's fine, I also want to fight with the sage." A fiery light burst out of his eyes. With his current strength, he was not weaker than a sage. However, he didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. The two of them didn't move again. Instead, they found a place. They temporarily lived in seclusion. Among them, Lin Xian had to adjust to his peak state, while the Dark Red Dragon wanted to study the heaven-crippling chessboard game. The middle-aged scholar was killed, and the heaven-crippling chessboard game fell to the ground and was put away by the Dark Red Dragon. In the end, Lin Xian searched his soul and directly obtained some information about the heaven-crippling chessboard game. The storage ring of the Lord was also taken away and given to the Dark Red Dragon. The heaven-crippling chessboard game was a very terrifying array formation with infinite power. Only Lin Xian could use his strength to break it. It would probably be difficult for the others to escape. They might even be killed in the array formation if they didn't do well. It could be said that the array formation was very terrifying. The Dark Red Dragon was skilled in array formations. If he could comprehend and control the heaven-crippling chessboard game, his strength would increase again. Perhaps by then he could use the game to trap a sage. Originally, the Dark Red Dragon also wanted to participate in the battle, but with the heaven-crippling chessboard game, he changed his mind. He wanted to study the array formation, so he didn't plan to participate. Another reason was that if he was outside, Lin Xian would participate. The two of them could take care of each other and deal with unexpected situations. 10 days before the Vermilion Bird Tournament, a piece of news came from the Vermilion Bird Palace. It was the rules of the Vermilion Bird Tournament. There were also corresponding rewards. Lin Xian went to the surrounding cities and also received the news. He didn't think much of it, but the others were in an uproar. That was because in their opinion, it should be a simple battle with simple rules. All they needed to do was to determine the winner. However, the situation was beyond their expectations. There were 3 stages. Why were there so many? Those prodigies frowned. They read the rules carefully and soon understood. There were too many people participating in the tournament, so much so that if it was a normal tournament, it would probably take a long time to finish. Therefore, the Vermilion Bird Palace wanted to arrange an elimination round to eliminate most of the top prodigies and retain the top prodigies. Chapter 3304. Lin Xian also received the news. He found that the first part was similar to a trial in a mystic realm. It would probably eliminate most people. The second part was no longer about elimination. Instead, it was about ranking and ascending the Vermilion Bird platform. The Vermilion Bird ranking was a temporary ranking. The third part was the challenge. The most intense battles. Because the third part was the final ranking. It was the final result of the Vermilion Bird proclamation. And this result would affect the rewards. Lin Xian didn't look at anything else. He directly looked at the reward for first place on the Vermilion Bird proclamation. Soon he found that there was indeed an Earth Dao stone among the treasures. The corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. He had to get first place. Aside from the Earth Dao stone, there were many other treasures and pills. However, Lin Xian didn't care about them. He could get all these resources. However, there was one thing that caught his attention. First place, including the top 5, had a spot to enter the Void Sea. A spot to enter the Void Sea? Lin Xian was shocked. Wasn't the final mission given to him by the Langya planet to go to the Void Sea to get a treasure? It seemed that the Void Sea was not simple. It should be a treasure trove. Thinking about this, Lin Xian took a deep breath. He didn't care about this for now. The most important thing now was to enter the Vermilion Bird proclamation and get first place. He had to get the Earth Dao stone first. As long as he got first place, not only would he get the Earth Dao stone, but he would also get a Metal Dao stone as a reward from the Langya planet. As for the Water Dao stone, it was said that it was also in the Void Sea. In order to get the 5 Elemental Dao stone, he wouldn't go easy this time. Time quickly passed. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. There were only 3 days left. All the participating geniuses moved out because they were going to participate in the first trial, which was the elimination round. The first trial was located in a very famous place on the planet of Suzaku, the Demon Cultivation Valley. It was said that this place was a battlefield in ancient times. Countless powerful cultivators fought there. Some people said that this was a place filled with ancient ruins. There were countless powerful cultivators' caves and treasures buried there. However, it was very dangerous. Those who entered for the treasures were all buried inside, never to come out again. In short, this was a very dangerous place. The first stage of the competition was actually here. It was truly shocking. For a moment, many people hesitated. They had also heard of how terrifying the Devil Cultivation Valley was. Originally, they were just participating in the battle. Even if they failed and were eliminated, it wouldn't be a big deal. But now, failure could mean death. Was it worth it for a mere Vermilion Bird proclamation ranking? However, it didn't take long for most of them to grit their teeth, and a wisp of madness appeared in their eyes. Because they felt it was worth it. That was because the Vermilion Bird leaderboard this time had attracted the attention of countless people. If one was able to win here, then there would definitely be enormous benefits. Therefore, no matter how dangerous the Devil Cultivation Valley was, he still had to give it a try. Moreover, these people were all geniuses and had boundless confidence in themselves. Moreover, some people had already started to form alliances. Those who knew each other and were familiar with each other had started to form alliances. They were prepared to join forces to fight against others after entering. After all, the first round was an elimination round. Most of the people would probably be eliminated. In that case, if he joined forces with people he knew, he would be able to eliminate others and protect himself. Therefore, such a group alliance was quickly formed among the many contestants. Lin Xian didn't form an alliance with anyone. Originally, he could have formed an alliance with the Dark Red Dragon, but now that the Dark Red Dragon wasn't participating, he would participate alone. However, so what if he didn't form an alliance? When he arrived at the Devil Cultivation Valley, there was only 1 day left until the day of the competition. Lin Xian arrived at the edge of the valley. He looked into the distance and revealed a shocked expression. Originally, he thought that this valley wouldn't be very big, but now it seemed that although it was called a valley, it was a bit too big. He couldn't even see the end of it. It stretched for millions of kilometers. This valley was definitely incomparably large. And below it was actually red. Red soil, red mountains, and even the trees were red, bringing with them a scorching hot aura. Planet Suzaku was originally a planet that leaned toward the fire element. There were fire element veins everywhere here, so the amount of fire element energy was very abundant. However, the Devil Cultivation Valley was a bit different. Aside from the scorching red energy, There was also a strange cold aura that seemed to be able to devour people. Night fell and quickly passed. The sky gradually brightened, and at the same time, countless figures arrived. Among them there were a few that were very eye-catching. Because these people flew very fast, one of them was very handsome. He had a slender figure and wore a purple robe. He gave off the aura of a ruler. The moment he appeared, he attracted the attention of countless people. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky. Suddenly they exclaimed, "Yin Nantian! He's here!" Countless exclamations sounded. Many of them were seeing Yin Nantian for the first time. They were shocked. Is this the successor of the emperor? His aura is indeed very strong. Yes, I actually feel that it's unfathomable. Even some experts who had been famous for a long time had their eyes flickering. However, a few cold snorts came from the countless participants. It was obvious that some people were very unhappy with Yin Nantian's appearance. One of them was tall and had scales on his body. No one dared to go near where he was. In fact, the aura coming from his body was so oppressive that it made it difficult for everyone to breathe. It's him. Long Zhaotian. What? He's Long Zhaotian? At first, the surrounding people were surprised. Who could be so terrifying? And from the looks of it, he wasn't from the human race. Now they finally knew that it was Long Zhaotian. It seemed that he was from the dragons. Was he a genius of the dragons? He probably wasn't any weaker than the successor of the emperor. Long Zhaotian's eyes were like rainbows as he stared at Yin Nantian in the sky. At the same time, on the other side, another figure arrived. It was a figure that was emitting a white light. It was like a celestial spirit had descended. His eyes were even more strange. They formed a strange saber-shaped pattern that made people feel as if they were pierced by it. It's him. Zhao Wuyang, Heavenly Blade God Eyes. What a terrifying eye technique. Both Long Zhaotian and Zhao Wuyang were the favorites to win the championship. As soon as they appeared, their auras emerged and clashed in the sky, tearing countless large cracks. However, it wasn't over yet. Those ranked at the top of the Abyss leaderboard had all arrived. In addition to Long Zhaotian and Zhao Wuyang, there was also a beautiful woman who stepped on the air. Chapter 3305. Yin Nantian also narrowed his eyes. Lin Xian was even more shocked. Yen Ryu. This beautiful woman came from the same world as him. Yen Ryu, a genius of the Demon King Palace, is almost equal to not only that, but she was also Lin Xian's old friend. Lin Xian did not expect to meet Yen Ryu here. He wondered how Qiu'er and Qingqing were doing. Were they here for the competition? However, after looking around, he shook his head slightly. It seemed that the two of them were not in this star field. Yen Ryu's arrival attracted the attention of countless people. Her beautiful face made everyone gasp in amazement. However, Yin Nantian and the others had serious expressions on their faces. They knew that not only was this woman beautiful, but her strength was also extremely frightening. Her ranking on the Abyss leaderboard was even higher than Zhao Wuyang's. Yen Ryu's beautiful face looked around. Soon she was shocked. Then she turned her head and looked at a figure in the crowd below. However, when she saw that figure, she frowned. She realized that she could not see him clearly. At this moment, Lin Xian did not use the light that he had used to cover his face. However, the others could not see him clearly either. Because he had used the power of annihilation, all the gazes in front of him would be dissipated. You're here too. Another voice sounded. Then, another tall and slender man descended. As soon as he appeared, everyone felt that the surrounding trees were growing crazily as if they were going to break through the clouds. Who was this person? They were shocked. They did not expect this person to cause such a phenomenon. It was him. The Northern Beast, the body of 10,000 beasts. In terms of combat strength, he might not be the best, but his life force and recovery ability were definitely strong. He even needed Yin Nantian and the others. Many people exclaimed and looked at the figure in the sky. The Northern Beast was also ranked in the top 10 on the Abyss leaderboard. Moreover, his body of 10,000 beasts was also shocking. Long time no see. Yen Ryu greeted the Northern Beast. The Northern Beast nodded back. This scene shocked everyone. Could it be that the two of them knew each other? However, soon they were even more shocked. This was because Yin Nantian looked at the two of them with a smile on his face. The two of you, long time no see. I did not expect to meet you here after being in the same world. What? Everyone's scalps were about to explode because Yin Nantian's words were too shocking. Yin Nantian, the Northern Demon, and Yen Ryu were all in the same world? This was too inconceivable. To think that there would be 3 peak-level geniuses in a single world. Furthermore, they were walking together on the ancient path of stars. It was truly shocking. It should be known that the three of them were not ordinary sky prides. They were extremely dazzling sky prides on the Abyss leaderboard. For example, Long Chaotian, Zhao Wuliang, and the other top geniuses all came from different worlds. Therefore this news was truly shocking. Even Long Zhaotian was extremely surprised. That's right, 2 of the 5 heroes of the world back then had actually appeared. I wonder if that fellow is here? Yen Ryu whispered softly. Her gaze even drifted in a certain direction. She stared at a figure, but she quickly retracted her gaze. This made everyone shocked. It seemed like they really did come from the same world. However, what they were more curious about was, who was the guy that Yen Ryu spoke of? Hearing that, the northern demon's gaze turned serious, while Yen Nantian sneered. He wouldn't have been able to come if he didn't have a chance. Don't you know the news from before? He and the great demon had already died in the galaxy. If they wanted to appear again, they would probably have to wait until their next lives. What? This news made Yen Ryu abnormally shocked. That person had perished together? But how was that possible? Who was that person below? She had been in seclusion previously and did not know what had happened in the outside world. Moreover, when she arrived, she realized that other than Yen Nantian and the Northern Demon, there was another person that she knew. Moreover, the two of them had an extraordinary relationship. However, that person had concealed his identity. But now, Yen Nantian was telling her that that person had perished together with the great demon. Could it be that the person below was not someone she knew? But that shouldn't be the case. She was certain that she was not wrong. Moreover, the reaction of a mysterious object in her body also told her that she was definitely not wrong. It seemed that he had deceived everyone. Yen Ryu understood in an instant, but she still didn't say anything, showing a sorrowful look. However, when the others heard that, they were stunned. What was going on? Perishing together with the great demon? Who was it? Could it be the successor of the 9 sons? They instantly understood who Yen Nantian was talking about. Heavens! The successor of the 9 sons. They actually knew the successor of the 9 sons. And from the looks of it, they were extremely familiar with him. Could it be that the successor of the 9 sons came from the same world as them? Thinking of that, everyone's scalps were about to explode. What kind of world was Heaven's? How could it give birth to so many top prodigies? Could it be the legendary and incomparably terrifying Big Dipper? They did not know because no one had mentioned it before. If they wanted to find out, they would have to spend some effort. But now they could not care less. There were still some people watching the battle outside. Among them, the dark red dragon crossed his arms and sneered. At that moment, he was still in the appearance of a handsome man. However, his face was different from before. At that moment, when he heard Yen Nanshan's words, he immediately sneered. I'm looking forward to seeing your expressions when you see that kid. Boom. Just as everyone was discussing in surprise, a terrifying power came from the sky. Everyone's hearts trembled and many people knelt on the ground. They were all terrified and did not speak. In the sky the laws descended. They widened their eyes. The sage was here. Needless to say, it must be the Cloud Sky Sage. Indeed, only the Cloud Sky Sage was participating in the battle. They did not know if there were others in secret. The laws definitely showed that the other party was here. The Cloud Sky Sage was a tall middle-aged man. As soon as he descended, he brought with him a powerful law power that suppressed the world. He was like a supreme god. Even Yen Nantian, the North Demon, and the others were on guard. The Cloud Sky Sage's eyes flickered as he swept his gaze in all directions. It was obvious that he was looking for the culprit. Everyone who was swept by his gaze trembled, and their faces were filled with fear. However, they soon heaved a sigh of relief because the gaze swept past them. However, it was fixed in an area. When it swept past Lin Xian's aura changed completely. He even used the power of the law of annihilation to resist it. Therefore Lin Xian had deceived the Cloud Sky Sage. However, as a sage, the Cloud Sky Sage was very powerful and naturally sensitive. Even if he could not confirm Lin Xian's identity, he had locked onto an area. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.